everyone. Welcome to VRR Unplugged. It's VRR's official podcast. Still the month of May, which means still Indianapolis 500 conversation. I'm Clayton Hardy, and along with me, same as what it was last week, is Weasel and RACECAR.
Howdy.
Hello.
So the VRR server was a bit lit up with conversation for the Indianapolis 500 during the race.
Quite.
All three of us have enough of a similar idea to where we're not going to spend time bickering, but we still have different takes on certain aspects. So bear with us as we try to walk through the race. If we have time, we'll talk about Monaco, but that'll probably be at the end because some interesting developments after this race. But let's start with the race. With the start of the race itself. Everyone was split as far as the fans were concerned. Everyone's like, oh, this race could be like what it was last year or whatever. And all the drivers are just like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So it's weird that people are surprised. Something I noted in the Discord conversation was the fact that everyone that kind of follows IndyCar were expecting this and were okay with it. Whereas those that obviously either don't watch IndyCar at all or only watch the 500, you could tell that they were taken back and it was kind of difficult for them because we had people that either are used to NASCAR, so you're used to garbage, or people that hadn't watched the IR05 era, which was anything from 2003 to 2011. Yeah. We talked about this prior to starting this recording. I started watching in 2008. I started watching full time in 2008. I started getting into it about 2005, so I had to suffer through 2006. And when I say suffer, I mean suffer. It was miserable. Weasel started watching from back in the 90s, which I guess tells your age because you started watching before I was alive.
Yeah. I was
it's weird.
Like 4 or 5 at the time, but I remember watching and getting into it when I was.
I was born in '96, so I was born the year Scott Brayton passed away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lovely statistic about my age is that you can easily track the life of IndyCar based on my birthday.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't remember when RACECAR said he started watching.
About 2004.
Okay, so all of us have been watching for at least a decade. And so if you were expecting a race like 2017, 2016, 2015, that wasn't ever in the cards. And everyone that follows IndyCar, that followed the tire test and the preseason testing, we were aware of that. We knew that with the downforce is going to the bottom of the car. It's very mechanical as far as the grip's concerned. And the only downforce you could really control was the front. You couldn't do anything with the rear wing. So, and we'll talk about our opinions on that rear wing later on because we all have different ideas as to how to fix it. So the race itself was interesting. There were 498 passes on track. So not including pit lane, there were 498 passes for the race. And if you include pit lane, it's different. But there were 498 passes on track between competitors. And people make it sound like it's going to be a lot that's bad. Because the amount of on-track passes prior to this event was 999. They almost got half of that in one race, which is pretty impressive because Long Beach was stellar. Barber was chaotic.
Well, yeah.
And Phoenix had, I think, 200 passes or something like that. So that's still a pretty impressive number. It's just one, ABC's broadcast was absolute dog crap.
Yeah.
And
oof.
Sayonara ABC, we do not miss you. And I feel bad for those that I feel bad for everyone wanting to boycott Detroit, because Detroit should be a lot of fun.
It should with this car.
It should. The road course car should be fantastic at Bella because they already jump around. Yeah. It's gonna be great. Yeah. I'm personally looking forward to not Barber, but Detroit. And I've never said that. I've never said that before. I've never said that about Belle Isle.
Nobody says that about Belle Isle. Or not lately.
So that was good. But anyway, focusing more on Indianapolis for the moment.
Yep.
498 passes on track. I had no idea what the actual number is, including the pit lane sequences. I'm assuming that number's almost double with the pit lane stuff. Start of the race, pretty cut and dry. Ed Carpenter pulled away and led. I was a happy guy. Up until about lap 120. I was a really happy guy.
Yeah.
Because for those that watched the podcast last week, and for the 25 views, thank you. That's higher than what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And that was as of last night, I think. So that may have changed. But 25 for our first podcast is pretty lit. But yeah, up until about lap 120, I was okay. I was like, okay, Ed Carpenter's there. Kanan was charging. We're good. Kyle Kaiser was up there. I mean, I was content with life. Everything was okay. And we talked about it during the conversation because everyone was having different conversations. And you pointed out, like, your predictions are kind of spot on. I'm like, yeah, I feel good. And that should have been my first clue that it wasn't going to stick. Because that never works. If I'm right, the first half of the race, something will derail it, and it was derailed. Ed Carpenter led the first. I think he led almost every lap up until either the first pit stop or the first caution. I want to say first pit stop, because Davison didn't crash until about. Davison didn't crash. Yeah, Davison didn't crash until after the. Yeah, so they had a pit cycle beforehand. So Ed Carpenter led every lap up until 32.
Yeah.
If that gives you any indication, whereas you think about last year, by the first set of pit stops, there was already 13 lead changes. So, Ed Carpenter led every point. Then he came in, and then it went to either Power or Newgarden. I don't remember who. It was one of the Silver Penske's, and they led, and then they came in, and then it cycled through, obviously, and then Carpenter came back out to the front. And not much to be said. I mean, everyone was kind of figuring out where they were at. Obviously, the beginning of the race was boring because everyone was understeering, and we knew that. We knew that from qualifying, that it was going to be bad. Bourdais was up there, which was cool. We had Carpenter. Danica fell back to 12th.
Yeah.
Kanan was up in the top 10. Matthias Lace was doing well on his own. Kyle Kaiser was doing well on his own. Karam was on the charge. He was climbing throughout the day. Rossi was climbing throughout the day. So everything was fine. And then after the first set of pit stops, which I think ended by about lap 36, James Davison was extremely out the pace. Which is weird because Davison seemed to be one of those people that could be a consistent midfield car. That's where he was at. He started dropping back. They lapped him once. He bottlenecked the second half of the field.
Yeah.
They finally got by him.
Yeah.
They finally got by him, and that second time he bottlenecked everyone again, and he was off the line, sort of like Jay Howard last year. And Sato had two cars in front of him. I forget who he had in front of him, who was on the lead lap, but he had Davison to the outside, so he had no air at all.
Nope.
And you can tell he's turning, and you can tell he's trying to fight it, and he just clips the back of Davidson, and both of them end up being out of the race. Rahal was lucky to dive to the inside, dive to the access lane to avoid it.
Yeah, to avoid it. Yeah.
But yeah, Davidson should have been called in. Arguably, I don't remember. I don't know what his average speed was. I don't remember what the minimum speed was when in 2012 when they pulled Jean Alesi and Simone de Silvestro off back when they had Lotus. I don't remember what that speed was. But they probably should have pulled him in, or his team should have pulled him in so they could work on the car because it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, you could see him fighting on the wheel. It's kind of like doing a little wiggle shiggle, like shaking wiggle down the backstretch before his accident.
Yeah. But so that was awkward. And obviously the natural banter between him and then Hinch not being in the field. Yeah. Obviously that kicked in because obviously for some reason Davison doesn't like Hinch, even though I don't know why Hinch is necessarily a problem, and it doesn't help when you take out the defending Indianapolis 500 champion.
No.
So you've done yourself no favors there. But I don't think his priority is IndyCar, to be honest. I think he's content going back to Australia after this.
Yeah, he said on the Marshall Pruitt podcast, he can say he goes and he does and he helps out people set up vintage cars, and that's how he gets his money to do Indy. That's how he met Hollinger, actually.
It's sad because last year he was brilliant.
Yeah,
and
he was.
It's so weird. And there was literally 4 teams behind that entry, and he was after that pit stop. He was undrivable. So he took Soto out. That was the first caution, and this was the point where cautions breed cautions, and you know how that goes. Second caution was Ed Jones. Mm-hmm. He had a snap spin coming out of turn 2. Now let's keep in mind that this was, I think, one of the. I don't know if it was officially the hottest Indianapolis 500, but it was one
the hottest on record. It tied the hottest on record.
It tied the hottest. Okay, so tied the hottest Indianapolis 500 on record. 92 degrees was the air temperature with 60% humidity or whatever. Turn 3 was the hottest corner. Turn 3 was the hottest corner. That was almost 130 degrees as far as the track temperature went. But Ed Jones, his car snapped coming out of turn 2, and it's the wall he went. So we got caution number 2. Obviously, people cycle through pit lane because tires apparently mean something with this package. I would argue that it doesn't, because I would say track position is still a bit more important. But if everyone's on fresh tires, you can at least try to make up more positions on the restarts. The first couple restarts actually weren't that crazy. No. It wasn't until after we got past the third caution that we started seeing some stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't 2 laps after they got back to green after the second caution that Danica Patrick spins.
Turn 2 again, yeah.
Turn 2. I don't think she hit the outside wall. I think she hit the inside wall. I don't remember if she.
No, she hit the outside wall and then Karen'd back toward the inside wall.
Okay, yeah, and then she came to a stop before hitting the inside wall. Okay, yeah. It's weird because turn 2 was such a focal point today. Kanon's the one that hit the inside wall. There we go. So Danica's last race as a driver ends with a crash. But she beat Sato, so put that feather in her cap.
Yeah.
Trying to think what the fourth caution was. There was a bit of time between Danica's crash and the next one.
Next one was 4 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was after.
And that was after Kyle Kaiser's engine blew, and there was no caution for that.
Okay, yeah. So let's back up a little bit. This is where the race for me starts to unravel a bit. Right. Okay, so Carpenter's been a dominant force all day. Kanon's been one of the quickest cars all day. So there was a green flag cycle of pit stops after Danica's crash.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was after the halfway point. Kyle Kaiser's engine blows. So I'm like, okay, I can lose the Rookie of the Year. That's fine. And then Kanan has a puncture in his tire. Well, two laps after he pit, he gets a puncture in his tire.
Yep.
This is where things start to derail.
That's right.
It gets cloudy. It gets cloudy, and Carpenter's car loses a bit of pace. So he's no longer leading. He's no longer the front dog. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, this race is really derailed. My Rookie of the Year is out, and Ed was out with a whimper. There was Kanan with his tire puncture, so he went a lap down. You have Carpenter battling his car because the cloud cover, and there was obviously with the cloud cover, there's a bit more wind, so that messes with things.
Oh yeah.
And in this entire process, Zach Veach had his car catch fire twice in the pit lane. So it was still pretty crazy. And then Bourdais had his crash where he came out of turn 3, fishtailed it, and then lost it. Had a 1.5 spin into the wall, so he's done. So that's caution number 4. And then obviously cautions, precautions again. Caution number 5, I want to say was
Sage.
I want to make this right because there were 7 cautions. So it was okay. So was it Sage or Helio?
It was Sage.
I want to say Elio. I don't know because I think Sage finished ahead of Elio. I think it was Elio, and then on the first lap green after Elio's
it was
crash.
Elio.
Sage,
You're right. It is Elio.
So Elio crashed. That was the 5th caution, and that was a lap. That was like 2 laps after they got back to green from Bourdais' crash. We're about lap 150 at this point, so we're going. It's go time.
Yes.
In this restart from Bourdais' crash, this restart from Bourdais' crash was crazy because Alexander Rossi, he's been climbing the field all day. Started 32nd. Yeah. I believe this is where he made that 4 wide pass. I believe this is where, because someone bottlenecked up. Someone made an attempt to pass and couldn't do it. Yeah, and slowed everyone behind up.
Yeah.
And Rossi just stuck it on the outside into turn 1 and left it.
No, I
so
think
that was
2 cars.
I don't know. Either way, there was one time where he passed 2 cars, and then there was another one where he passed 4 cars because he passed cars going into turn 1 and stuck it going through turn 2. I don't remember which one it was. This was the
first pass. No, this was the first pass where he went up from 7th to 5th because he took the high line through 1 and got the crowd kind of like going, "Wow!"
But
2 laps after
that, he had two amazing restarts, and so this was the first of those. And everyone's like, "Holy crap!" And then there's a bottleneck because they're going 3 wide into turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's checked up at that point. I think this is actually around 10th, and Elio was just in front of that because he had just gotten past Hunter Ray. I think he had actually just cleared Pagano, and he couldn't stick it, and he spun it coming out of turn 4. So he got through the corner, and then it stepped out on him. And then he hit the inside wall and slid into pit lane.
Yes.
So his race ended up ending early, which I'm okay. Which obviously means there's only 1 yellow card left to identify. Makes the job easier to know who's Pagano. So Elio went out. So obviously caution, and it was a longer caution because they had to clear up pit lane. So after they cleared up pit lane and then went back to green, it wasn't even a full lap, and the caution came back out because of Karam. Now, we had a debate on this one. People said, it's just him being a bit too overdriving. Some people just like that was a weird crash. It was weird because he hit the wall and the right rear tire came off. It wasn't the wheel because that's tethered. It was the tire. The tire popped off, hit the outside wall, and then bounced over cars to the inside wall. And then it rolled down pit lane. So quite a majestic time for that tire. And people were like, okay, how does that work? Well, if it was the wheel, it wouldn't have left the car. So my understanding of it, and this is my theory on it, is that the lug nut for that tire, because he got loose entering that corner. He wasn't on it in that corner. And when he hit the wall, the tire came off. So I'm thinking the lug nut wasn't tight. It was there and it held it in place enough. But either the load of the car or something broke it loose. He lost feeling in it. And then when he clipped the wall, it it pushed the lug nut completely out. And then the tire came off. Now, obviously, we don't know. ABC, with their horrendous coverage, never followed it up. Go figure. But it was weird because tires don't come off like that in a crash normally. I haven't seen it like that. I mean, you have instances like Lazier's incident where they didn't have the tire on at all, or laced. Laced is another one of those instances at Phoenix. But he was at speed, and then it came loose on him. So, and there's some on track. There's some people that were at the track that saw something happen with the tire that forced him to go wide, and he couldn't save it. That's what I've heard. I mean, and looking at it on Twitter, there seem to be people that back that up. So it's sad that the people at the track who didn't have a good view of anything going on had a better idea of that than the people watching TV, which was being covered with cameras all over the track. So that's a shame. Hopefully someone has a definitive answer for that, because that was scary. So obviously we go back to under caution. And then we have, I think, another 20 laps of green flag after this, because it was a little bit until Kanon's crash. And Kanon's crash was like with 11 to go. So,
yeah. People.
So we had, people pitted as well. There was more time. There was more time between that incident because the Karam's crash was when everyone last pit. And then there was a gap because everyone was wondering, how's this going to work? Because people started pitting early. You think about Will Power and Scott Dixon, and everyone's sensible pit early because you weren't going to make it on 50 laps. Well, 40 laps, 42 laps. Dixon was saving the entire time. So there was a period of time where the top three was Oriol Servia, who was an Indy 500 only entry, Stefan Wilson, who was an Indianapolis 500 only entry, and Jack Harvey, who's only racing 6 races this year. And that was looking to be a stellar podium. We legit thought that was possible. Mm-hmm. Caution comes out, and here's the thing. Kanon's in the top 10. Carter's in the top 10. So I'm like, okay, there's time for this to turn around. The other three, the top 3 cars have to pit. We're good. Kanon's a beast at the restarts. Obviously, Rossi's a beast too, but he's been screwing with my day all day long. Carpenter should be okay. It's just Will Power and Dixon, and caution comes out, and it's Kanon. And yeah, that was my picks. Done. My picks were finished. So caution comes out, and strangely enough, Servia stays out, Stefan Wilson stays out, Jack Harvey stays out. Which to me was like, okay, they can make it. Servia's race engineer said, we can make it. Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, okay, this is weird. Because Power was sitting 4th. So we had it, and that the 4th car in line is not going to get the greatest run. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be an interesting turn 1 because we got 3 people that are really low on fuel. We've got someone with fresh tires and supremely measured fuel. Mm-hmm. And the top 3 go 3 wide into turn 1 on this restart with 7 to go. Stefan Wilson, who is the younger brother of Justin Wilson, who passed away 3 years ago at Pocono, takes the lead of the Indianapolis 500. And I think it's a universal point among IndyCar fans that everyone kind of started cheering and screaming at that point. Because if Servia can make it, Wilson can make it.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
Servia pits that next lap because apparently the engineer was bluffing and they had no chance in hell of making it.
Nope.
So then we see Wilson and Harvey. Power tries to pass Harvey, can't do it. So he has to back off, loses time. And then coming to 5 to go, both Wilson and Harvey pit. Okay, so you go green with 7 to go. If you have no chance at all of making it, why stay out?
Exposure for the sponsors.
I guess.
Like, because the thing is, you would need a serious crash with a lot of debris to cause a caution that's long enough to end the race under yellow. And we hadn't seen that all day.
No.
These were cautions that were being cleared up in 4 laps. They were done. Well, a lot of single car incidents.
Yeah.
Why take that gamble if you know you don't have enough? That was the weirdest part to me, was trying to understand that. But for those 2 laps, I was standing up and I was screaming. Because Stephen Wilson, obviously being Justin Wilson's brother, he stepped aside last year so Fernando Alonso could race. So immediately, what a gentleman to think of the exposure of the series.
Yeah.
And step aside voluntarily to let Alonso in. Comes in this year, and I believe he's the only Andretti driver to lead a lap in Indianapolis this year. Hopefully I'm wrong. I want to see the table to see. Because I think Marco might have led a couple laps. Let me look at the table real quick. Because I don't remember who of the Andretti stable led lap.
Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Hunter-Reay was the only one that led laps?
Yeah, and Carlos Munoz during pit cycles. And Rossi during the pit cycle.
Okay, so everyone, he was the only one that led under green.
Nobody led laps under green. It was all during pit cycles.
Okay, so Stephen Wilson's the only driver that led under green.
Yeah. Everybody else was coming in and out, green flag pit stops, such and such.
Okay. So that's kind of important.
Yeah.
So, and sorry to everyone if an ad started playing there. I was looking at Racer and they started playing ads. Okay, there's the results. Okay, so they came in, they stayed on the lead lap, thank God.
Yep.
And Kimball did finish on the lead lap.
Yep.
He was the last car on the lead lap. So we had 18 cars in lead lap. Willpower, obviously, once Wilson and Harvey pit, it was just him and clear sailing. So it was Power, Ed Carpenter, Scott Dixon finished 3rd. Alexander Rossi from 32nd to 4th. Obviously, I think many people would agree that he is the driver of the day.
Easy. No question in my mind, he was driver of the day.
By far.
Ryan Hunter-Reay was 5th. Simon Pagenaud 6th. Carlos Munoz, the best finishing Indy 500 only entry, was 7th. Yep. Joseph Newgarden was 8th. Robert Wickens, Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year. I think, personally. I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but I'm assuming it is.
IndyCar hasn't put it up on their sites. Might not be confirmed.
I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting on the expert vote.
Yeah.
But he's been the one with the most exposure, and he's the best finishing. So I don't see why he wouldn't. You've got Graham Rahal, who finished 10th after starting. I don't remember where he started. He started 30th.
30th. That's right. Outside of the 10th row.
Yeah. 31st was Harvey.
Right.
So Hildebrand was 11th. Great run for him.
From 27th, yeah.
So great run from Dreyer and Reinbold. Both cars looked good today. Unfortunately, Karam had that weird incident.
Yeah.
Marco Andretti 12th. That's where he started. So great job, Marco.
Good job.
Mateus
Good
Laced. Mateus Laced lost 2 positions. Finished 13th. Gabby Chavez gained 8 positions and finished 14th. Stefan Wilson, he gained positions, was stellar. Finished 15th on the lead lap. He finished ahead of Harvey and Servia. And then Charlie Kimball, last one on lead lap.
Yeah.
Then you get to the lap down cars. Clement DeMello finished 19th. He led laps. I think he led. It doesn't tell me how much he led, but whatever. Actually, it does down
mine
here.
does, actually. Yeah.
It does down here.
7.
Yeah, he led 7 laps.
And then next to it is the actual lead change summaries. Actually tells you who was leading at what lap.
Yeah, okay. So we had Clement DeMello, who led 7 laps. Spencer Pigot, who never was there.
Nope.
Like, from the drop of the green flag, he just fell, which was disappointing. But,
yeah,
I mean, he finished. So
yep.
There's that. Conor Daly, 21st. Surprisingly, he wasn't the slowest car on track. We were expecting him to be.
Mm-hmm. 21st a lap down on the road course car was pretty good. What was up with
no
Chilton?
kidding.
What was up with
Chilton was never on it.
No.
That's the weird thing. Carlin was never on it, which was weird because they had great qualifying pace, but during practice they were slow, and during the week they were slow.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where like they had good qualifying and that was it. So I don't know what happened to him. Zach Veach, and he was 2 laps down. Zach Veach was 2 laps down as well, but his car was catching fire. I seemed like almost every pit stop. So
yeah.
Fair enough. Jay Howard was 7 laps down, by far the slowest car on track.
Yeah.
He was, but here's the thing: he wasn't Davidson slow.
No.
But
Oh no!
Because he was stable. He wasn't a threat to anyone.
No.
But Jesus Christ, he was slow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. You had Kanan, who was the first of the DNFs, Karam, Castro Neves, Sebastian Bourdais, Kyle Kaiser with the engine failure, Danica Patrick, Ed Jones, Takuma Sato, and James Davison. All of them scored points. Obviously, Pippaman and James Hinchcliffe will be at the bottom of this whenever it pops up on Wikipedia because they failed to qualify.
Yeah.
So there were 7 cautions. There were a whole bunch of penalties.
Oh yeah! Wow.
But there's only 3 that were served during the race. Most of these are post-race fines.
Yeah, actually. Wow.
There was 3. The first one was for Kyle Kaiser hitting personnel. So I'm guessing he hit a tire changer. And that was on 37.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Carpenter got a fine because he ran over another team's equipment as they were preparing for a pit stop.
Yeah.
Spencer Pigot got a fine twice. Well, actually, no, he got a fine, and then the second time he got a drive-through. Right. So I'm guessing that's how that's handled. Why Chilton was 2 laps down was because he got a penalty for failing to follow instructions. I'm assuming that's blue flags, but I'm not sure. Because it doesn't have any. It's not specifying penalty. It's not specifying how he got that.
What it is, yeah. It's just this happened. That happened.
Jay Howard had a post race fine. Karam had 2 post race fines. Stephen Wilson had a post race fine, but he can afford it now because he finished 15th, which is a decent chunk of money. Clement Mello had a post race fine. Tony Kanaan had a post race fine. So there was a lot of post race fines, which makes me think that it was minor. And then obviously the hitting personnel, people are still confused by that, but it's been a rule since late 2015 because 2015 when Coyne was running over people, when they had Dracone and Pippaman and Daly and they were just ride buying all the time. That's why that rule that's why that rule's in place, is because Coins in particular, but there was other instances too, where drivers were just running into pit crew because they were looking for extra time, quickest in, quickest out, whatever. And obviously, That's not good if you hit your pit crew. So now they've put a more of a premium on the pit crew safety as well, which I am all for. So that's why penalties are a thing. The fact that people are still confused by that, even though it's been 3 years, is beyond me. Piggott got to drive through because of pit speed violation, so he was too fast entering. How you're too fast entering with a pit limiter is beyond me, but whatever. But his day was just really bad. And then I want to know what Chilton did to get that penalty, because it was with like 3 laps to go. I don't know why.
Let's see if
but there was.
I'll actually see it.
I would like to know what that was. So amount of lead changes. Let me see if I can find how many lead changes are detailed. There were 30 different lead changes in total. Whereas you compared to last year was 59. So not as many lead changes. As I said earlier, there are 498. I don't know if I said it earlier in this podcast, but I know I said it to these two before the podcast, was the 498 passes on track. So that's not, so when I say 498 passes on track, that does not include transitions that happen on pit lane. So if a driver comes in the pit lane, anyone that passes them does not count to that total. So coming into 500, there were 999 on track passes for position. Today, there were 498 for position on track, including pit lane. That's probably a lot higher. Obviously, the lead change summary is going to reflect the pit lane cycle. Let me see if I can track to see when those cycles were. So, I would say there's probably about 7 or 8 under green, and we had a lot of caution. So,
yeah,
I think we had 41 laps of caution, and this race took just under 3 hours. So,
pretty good considering the amount of caution.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
it went at a really quick pace. It never felt like endless long through caution after caution after caution. It was like quick, and then it kind of slowed down with a caution. Like, oh.
Yeah, the first 32 laps, like the first half of the race was like super quick.
Yeah.
Like that amazed me. So the fastest lap of the race was set by Helio Castroneves. It was a 224.138 on lap 131. And it was essentially in time, that's a 40.1538. Will Power's fastest lap was a full mile an hour slower. And that was with 2 to go.
Yeah, they said that under that ABC broadcast. Because everyone
he
else
was
were like in the 218s and back.
Yeah. So that was, I think the race was fine. Obviously there's some small things to improve, obviously, but to me it was fine. Having watched this since 2008, obviously Weasel's watched since 93.
On and off since 93. I remember 93, 94. Stopped watching it until like 2000. And then I stopped watching it full time until about 2005 is when I really got back into it and again. So,
and then I've watched it consistently since 2008, but I started watching the 500 back in 2005. So all 3 of us have been watching this for over a decade. We kind of have an idea of what the good races are and what the bad races are. This was not a bad race. 498 on lap passes, on track passes for the lead. You've got 30 lead changes, which isn't necessarily that bad when you think about last year. And looking this up, last year there were only 17 passes under green that weren't pit cycle. So it wasn't dramatically different. Obviously, you think half the lead changes is a big deal. It wasn't boring.
No,
it really wasn't. It wasn't boring because there was strategy, which was important because tires seemed to be wearing different from everyone. Fuel strategy became really important because that middle stint where there was nothing going on, people was like, okay, we may not be able to make it on a certain amount of stops. And then obviously there was 3 more cautions that came right after that, which threw everyone off again. So that was interesting. The strategy was always an interesting key to this race. That's usually how it is.
Yeah,
but
always has been.
There was always passing. It sucks because ABC didn't cover that well.
Nope.
Like you cover the leaders who are out in clean air instead of, and they would occasionally focus on the back if it was someone important. Like, oh look, there's Kanan, or oh look, there's Rossi. If you weren't an Indianapolis 500 champion and you were in the back making passes, no one cared. At least no one in the ABC booth cared.
Nope.
It was frustrating because it gives you a really weird sense. And there was a couple of VRR members that were there. Tyler Parker, who I do commentary with for the B-Spec stuff, and Angel was there. And if you don't know Angel, you don't know who you are. You don't know why you're here. If you don't know who Angel is. She was there. They were both in the same part of the track. So, and both of them said that the race was fine. At least when they were, from an attendance perspective, they both said the race was fine. So it's so maddening when the coverage dumbs the race down because IndyCar's been on such an up and up that you can't for a cable crew to essentially sabotage that. And I'm not gonna go flat out and say that they're deliberately doing this.
Yeah, that's a little hard to say that, but it does give the impression.
This was worse. This was worse this year than what it was last year.
Yeah, easily.
Like it's obvious they don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's become so pertinently obvious that they don't care.
Yeah.
Because they have interns doing most of this. They fired most of their actual staff, and then they brought in interns to do this year.
Yeah,
people that have never done this before. They have doing these broadcasts, and it shows. ABC was like, okay, whatever, it's fine, and left it as it is, and that's frustrating because this race had so much more appeal to it. New aero kits, amazing looking aero kits.
Yeah,
I would say arguably one of the best looking cars we've had since the 90s.
Yeah, when I was watching the race at the...
I would say personally, and you guys can chime in and dispute this, I would say that these cars look better than the Champ Car cars.
You're talking the DPL1 from
2003, 2007 Champ Car cars, not the kart cars. I feel like these cars are better because there's I personally think that the 1996, 1997, 1998 cars were amazing looking.
The Champ Car, the kart cars? The kart cars. I grew up on that generation. I agree with you.
I feel like the current Indy car is better than the Champ Car cars because one, they have less power.
Yep.
And that helps because you're getting the same performance with less power, and obviously a smaller engine, a quieter engine, which we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. It's important. It's more accessible. It's not going to blow your eardrums off. Mm-hmm. They still they dance around a lot, extremely so, which is great because it's in the driver's hands. And I like the front wing. With Champ Car, it seemed like the front wing was very simplified, probably overly so.
Well, back then everything was simple.
Well, simplified.
And like the curved shapes and multiple elements and things wasn't really discussed or done back then. And the team that did try it did not get it right at first because it might have got it right, but they had other problems with their tires and engine and such.
But
man, when I was watching this race in a public place on TV, everybody stopped and took a look and, wow, what is that? IndyCar, I tell them. And they go, and they looked at it and they watched the cars going, those are pretty. And I go, yeah. So I agree with you that these are really nice looking. And this
I went out
an attractant for new fans.
I went out for a little bit and people were talking about Indianapolis, and the consensus among actual racing fans or actual IndyCar fans was that the racing was probably not going to be as good, but it was probably going to be safer because we didn't have multi-car accidents outside of Davidson. But Davidson was kind of a plebe.
That was a freak, yeah. That was odd. That was the exception.
Whereas you think about last year, how many multi-car accidents we had, and the fact that we've had big ones every year since 2012.
Yeah.
Every year. Yeah, well, I'd argue every year since like 2011, because 2010, because that was Mike Conway.
Oh yeah,
and that was a pretty big one. Although I don't know if it was really big per se because it was only 2 cars, but it was a nasty crash, obviously. And then we've had multi-car acts. We've had big ones every year. We had 2012 with Saavedra. We had 2013. I'm trying to remember. We finished on a caution that year. I'm trying to remember what the big crash was there. I want to say Saavedra again. I want to say it was Saavedra or Viso. One of the two. It was Colombia. I know Viso was involved in a big one. Saavedra was involved in one. Viso was involved in the other. And I'm sorry, Viso is Venezuelan. There's a difference.
Yes.
So, and then 2014, I'm trying to remember what 2014 was. I'm trying to remember what 2014's accident was. I know there were multiple. No, I know there was multiple car crashes. 2014 was Ryan Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2017 there was a big crash which took out 7 cars.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember 2016.
2016, you said?
I'm trying to remember if it was 2016 that major crash or not. Either because of the car count or because of something serious.
I can't. There's nothing that comes to mind from 2016.
Not really from 2016 either. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to think about it, I mean, if you want to put up statistics there, you think about how many serious crashes we had with the manufacturer aero kit, and think about Hinchcliffe's crash. You think about Karam's crash, which killed Justin Wilson. You think about Sebastian Bourdais' crash. Like, we've had a serious amount of injuries with the manufacturer kits.
Yeah.
And we had people getting loose and tapping the wall, or we had people understeering and tapping the wall. No one went airborne outside of Sato because he bunny hopped a little bit, but he came back down immediately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And these crashes weren't serious. Ed Jones went to a hospital because of whiplash. Yeah. But he's been released and he'll be evaluated before Detroit to see if he's clear. And if he's not, I'm seriously interested to see who they're going to pull in, if anyone.
Yeah, actually, I just remembered one, and it was Elio going in the air. 2014?
2014. No, 2015.
15.
Was it?
Was it 15?
Yeah, it was 2015. It was the first year of the aero kits.
Okay.
It was the first year of the manufacturer. Yeah. It was the first year of manufacturer kits.
And Elio just took off and won.
Yeah.
That was a year that several people did because Elio took off.
Carpenter, yeah, that's the one I
You
remember.
had Hinchcliffe. You had Hinchcliffe's serious crash that year.
Yeah.
So that was the really bad year. Bourdais obviously in 2016, not 2016, 2017.
17 last year.
Yeah. So trying to think, 2016 seems to be a blur to me because outside of Rossi winning, it doesn't seem like it was that important.
Yeah, there weren't really any major.
I know there was a major crash in that race because that's what set up Rossi's strategy. I just don't remember. I remember Saavedra being in it, but he wasn't the cause of it. I don't think. I just remember there being a major crash at like 150 or whatever that set it up.
Sato hit the wall. That set up the.
Yeah, I don't remember 2016 hardly at all outside of Rossi.
Yeah, there weren't any big crashes. They were just lax, buddy, or Sato hitting the wall, or Sage Karam getting taken out by Townsend Bell, things like that. And both of them getting hit, things like that.
Yeah, we had one multi-car crash, and that's really weird for Indianapolis. We haven't seen that since 2012 to 2016. It seemed like every accident was a multi-car crash.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now almost everything was single car, which obviously was safer.
Yeah.
And they weren't as serious. Like they aren't going as fast now. But no. it didn't seem as serious. And something I found interesting at first, and I just had to look this up to make sure. With the 7 cautions we had today, we were only 20 miles an hour slower off the fastest average race speed
of all time.
Wow. We had double the cautions of 2013, and we were only 20 miles per hour slower.
That's impressive. That really synthesizes just how quick the early laps were and how quick it was.
Well, it's not. They were slower over individual laps, but they were maintaining that pace better.
Yeah,
which is interesting. It's an interesting perspective. There's some positives to take from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And obviously with 2013 having 86 lead changes.
Yeah.
Obviously people are like 2013 is the best thing that was 500 ever. No, it's not. Because none of the passes prior to lap 100 mattered at all. Yeah. Half the people that made those passes weren't even in contention
at the end of the race.
And then the race ended under caution. So congrats, TK. Although it was a sweet moment seeing, Weldon, Franchitti, and Kanaan back to back on the Borg Warner Trophy.
Yeah.
That was probably the only sentimental thing I could bring into that was the fact that the three best friends were in line in that trophy.
Yeah.
So, but that outside of Kanaan winning under yellow and 86 lead changes, which I don't remember who made those lead changes. 2013, not really memorable. Like I don't have the urge to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
And I could. I've gone back and I've watched 2017. I've watched 2015. I've watched 2011. And 2011 was horrible.
Yeah.
Outside of the final 500 feet, it was horrible.
Yeah, I've
watched 2006.
That was Buddy Rice, right?
No, that was when Sam Hornish beat Marco to the line.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like the only memorable part of the race was Sam Hornish beating Marco to the line because Marco's a pleb and he's not allowed to have nice things. Unless it's Iowa, in which case he can have all the things in Iowa.
Or Sonoma when he got gifted that win at Sonoma, but
I would say being gifted and earning it are different. He only earns wins at Iowa.
That's true,
and he hasn't earned wins in Iowa in what 6 years?
6 years.
It's been 6 years since he's won a race.
Yeah. Ooh.
I remember when everyone said that Mario Andretti was better than Graham Rahal.
Ooh, I remember those years. Graham had that weird kind of era where he came out and he won really early in his career, right?
Because he was with Newman Haas.
St. Petersburg with Newman Haas. Still.
Yeah.
And then he had that year of just in the wilderness because the team went down because of health issues with Carl and Paul Newman, and then him bouncing around back and forth. Then he went to the Ganassi B team, and then he went to Rahal.
And then he went to KV.
And then he went to KV.
And then he came back. And now that he's come back, he's been doing stellar because he swept Detroit, and no one swept Detroit before.
No.
Him
getting married, I think, and the fact that his dad no longer calls his races has been a big boost to that team. It's changed his mentality a lot. I think it's why they have Brian Herta working with Marco to try to get around that kind of feeling, I guess.
And you still lose to Carlos Munoz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carlos Munoz is someone there's obviously several drivers that are on the list that deserve a full-time ride. And obviously it's not possible because the best you can get is 26. And we'll talk about that later because we have time.
Yes, we do.
So we'll talk about that in a bit. Actually, no, I guess this is a good trip. Okay, we'll start with we'll get to the whole driver situation and stuff after that. We'll cycle it back in, but okay. So we've covered the race. Okay, all of us said that the race wasn't bad. It's probably not the best of all time, but it wasn't bad.
No.
So everyone pointed at the rear of the car, and we talked about this last time where we said that the weight's more center line than what it was before. And that's obviously changed the balance. Instead of the car being naturally loose, now it's naturally tight because it's 55% in the rear. It's more middle.
Before, it was more like an
it was 65.
65-35.
Yeah, it was 65-35. And it was naturally loose. Mm-hmm. And that's why we saw cars. That's why we saw more accidents, obviously, and all that jargon.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, how do you fix it? Well, larger rear wing. No, larger rear wing does not solve anything. What you've done is you've punched a bigger hole in the air and you've created a NASCAR problem. Because a bigger rear wing creates bigger turbulence.
Mm-hmm. Bigger turbulence means that when you get behind a car, you're going to have the front wing not work even harder than they not work now.
And then you're just going to stall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the front wing, I don't think is a big problem. Obviously, if they adjust the front wing, I'll be fine because front end grip seems to be more important with this.
Yeah.
My personal solution, if you want something quick and easy, there's two things you can do. And one of these things you could do at Texas, although I don't see it happening because they're trying to get away from pack racing. One thing you could do is just angle the rear wing forward. So have it to where the front of the rear wing is facing downwards. Just 4 degrees, 6 degrees. That makes a big difference instead of it being flat because it's concave. So the center of the wing is the lowest part of the wing. Concave, concave. It's lower in the center and then it's kind of a bowl. It's kind of a valley shape. Just angle it forward. Just angle it for 4, 6, 8 degrees. Hell, let the teams experiment with it. Just open it up. Let teams kind of play with how they want the angle to be. Obviously, there's only so much angle they can do because of the assembly being set the way it is, and it's a universal assembly. So I don't think you can go beyond 10 degrees of adjustment.
No.
But it's better than 0 or negative.
Yeah.
Because negative's a thing.
Yeah.
So let people adjust that. Like that could be a big deal. Now, something that you might want to do for next year is adjust the wing plates. The way the rear wing is now is that it's flat. Well, it's got a flat design and then it just drops down, which obviously makes sense for the flow of the car, but it is horrible aerodynamically because there's literally no point of it being there. It doesn't even come over.
The end plates are curved, aren't they?
Well, it's just a curve of the rear wing. It just curves down. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah, it's a single piece, and it's just like it's got that rounded design at the ends. Instead of having that, where you have this weird number placement where it's smaller than the size of my hand, create rear wing end plates that could be an arrow shape and design. Make it fit the flow of the rest of the car. Make it an arrow shape design, and have it stay near the rear of the car. Have it be the southernmost end of the car, but have the wing plate be equal size above and below the wing. I think that's what's missing, is the fact that there's no channeling of air over the rear of the car.
Over the top side of the rear wing, you mean? The main plate.
I would argue either way, because those rear drop-offs don't mean much.
No.
They point to the rear tires, yeah. They point to the rear of the car, yeah, but they're mostly lined up with the diffuser. And that's part of the problem, I think, is that it's designed in such a way that you're not really benefiting anything with it that way.
No.
Whereas you can shorten it to where it's precisely measured with the diffuser and have the air over the car, over the rear wing, channeled. And it doesn't even have to be a complex design. It can be a very simple design. It could have a couple louvers or a couple slits in the sides of the rear wing to channel air, but it doesn't have to be complex. Just something more to help channel, and that I think is the biggest problem. Is just that there's no channeled air over the top of the rear of the car. All of the air is being channeled underneath the car, which is where the mechanical grip comes from. But there's nothing for the top of the car, and the top of the car is what matters because that's where your G-forces are. And I feel like having rear end plates that are actually above and below the rear wing itself, I feel like would help that. Now, it's weird. It's going to be weird either way, because it with the DW12 chassis, everything kind of comes to a stop at the tires.
Yeah.
No matter what, everything just kind of stops once you get to the rear tires. It's the rear tires, rear wing, gearbox. And I think that's part of the problem. But channeling the rear wing is probably the biggest way you can help, other than adding the wheel guards back, which I don't think's happening, although it should. This car was designed with channeling air over the tires in mind.
Right.
You still see it in the front of the car.
Yeah.
But when that's not there in the rear of the car, you've got a lot of instability because that air's just, once it gets to the rear tires, it just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And those rear wheel guards, as ugly as they were, had a purpose aerodynamically.
I kind of
and obviously, I'm not saying bring it back, but help kind of, at least for the ovals, help try to at least balance out that disturbance that's been created. On the road courses, it's not as big of a deal. And it's obvious that the wheel guards aren't necessary for safety because Takuma Sato ran over the back of Davidson's tire and didn't even climb over Davidson's car and just came back down.
Yeah.
The Innovations IndyCar did their job. That's proof right there, because Sato came up on him at 203 miles an hour. Normally that pitches cars upwards.
Yeah.
And he just popped up and came back down. It was like a wheelie. So obviously the wheel guards are not important. They're not necessary. But give the cars more stability in the rear. Give the cars something in the rear to channel that air, because for ovals there's nothing. And when you get to Texas, which has got different banking turns 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4, they're different. And then Pocono's going to be killer. Not for the good reasons. Pocono's probably going to be the worst race of the season if this sticks as it is.
Mm.
And I don't like saying that because Pocono itself is normally fun. I don't see it being fun with everything staying as it is. Something needs to change for Pocono. Texas could be fine. Texas could be fine. They had that reconfiguration. They've repaved. Texas could be really fine.
Yeah, because last year you were having the cars at Texas last year. You were flat everywhere, even lifting very lightly. And Pocono, because of how you drive it, you generally do have to lift off in little spots. But with how this car is, it might be like really early race 2012, 2013, where the tires would go off and the car drivers are having to fight the cars.
Which obviously it's obviously great as far as the intention, putting it more in the driver's hands, but it's bad in the fact that the quality of racing is going to be so low.
Yeah,
it's going to be so low. It's not going. It's hardly going to be watchable.
No.
So they've got to do something with that rear wing. Either add something to it or let teams adjust it, because not being able to adjust the rear wing hurts so much. And you could adjust the rear wing before. You could do that. Like there wasn't a whole lot you could do, but
you could.
You could at least tune it. You could at least tune it in practice. You could turn it in the qualifying, and it was something that you could do easily during pit stops.
Yeah,
like it's the same setup that they have for the front wing, they have for the rear wing. It didn't do as much, but here it would have helped.
Yeah, because during even like end of day reports from Marshall Pruitt, not the podcast but the videos, he was interviewing Sebastian Bourdais, and Bourdais was kind of wondering, I don't know why we have that rear wing on the back. Our numbers are saying it's actually creating lift, it's not producing downforce. But that might have changed over the course of the month.
So with that being said, that's my idea, is one, allowing teams to change the angle at least, or adding actual end plates onto the rear wing. But obviously there's more than just one opinion. So if you guys have opinions on what to do with that rear wing or with the rear of the car in general to help increase stability with that car, go for it.
Well, I think larger end plates are going to happen because we don't have this problem with the road course wing, which the road course wing is huge in comparison to the oval wing. Oval wing is tiny. It looks like something from the 1980s before they really got into learning the dark arts of downforce and such. I think larger end plates, maybe not a larger end plate, maybe not a larger overall plane of the wing, which is the arrow shape of it, but larger end plates at a slightly different and more raised angle of attack could help, because it would have the added effect of maybe stabilizing the crazy air coming off the rear tire, and then at the same time allowing it to just have maybe a little bit of a pocket. The big issue is that the drivers were unless your car was hooked up today, I'm seeing that drivers could not follow each other closely through the corners because the front end was getting light, because everyone was understeering unless you were Ed Carpenter or you were Alexander Rossi. And I generally don't think this is bad, but I do think and feel that if you're able to get the drivers to stick a little closer, not too much, but just enough that you could stay to somebody and not be 20 miles an hour slower in the corner than you were on the straight, that the racing would improve and it wouldn't be expensive, and you wouldn't have to make a brand new piece untested and put it in the middle of the year and tell the teams, okay, figure it out. But so yeah, I do agree with you that this wing needs to change, I think, for the next oval races. We got time. I hope that they actually think about it.
We don't have a lot of time.
But we don't have a lot of time.
We've got, I think, not even a month until Texas.
Yeah.
I think Texas is in June. It's either June or late July. I want to say late June.
It's late June. Night racing, late June.
That's what I figured, because it's usually my birthday's coming up, and then it's usually Texas is right after. So I get some nice racing for my birthday. Because I can't go to Kentucky anymore.
No.
assholes.
Them's the brakes. Them's the brakes.
So, I mean, RACECAR, any suggestions from you as far as any idea to change to help fix the rear of the car? Either that laugh was good or bad.
Yeah. The nervousness, you can feel it.
Well,
either way, the rear wing, I think. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like in addition to that, one thing I've noticed about the rear wing, I decided to look at it again. I'm noticing that apart from that bend, there's nothing to really stop the air from just going straight over it. Like there's no sort of shaping element to direct the air off the wing itself. So in addition to having the wing at that angle, maybe having a sort of a gurney-esque lip or something there would probably
I think there is.
That. Is there? Because
I think there is. I think there is a lip, but it's not very big. Like it's more of like a bump. Like you'll notice it at the rear of the wing that there's two ridges on the sides. But
okay, yeah, but it's like it's barely visible.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing: those things weren't there at the beginning. They weren't there. Those are added on pieces. So, I mean, what they could possibly do is instead of making that complete end plate, I feel like one thing they could do if they were looking for a quick fix, and I don't think a quick fix is coming for Texas. I think a quick fix that they could do for Pocono is duplicate that downward shape and then set it upwards. So you've got like a mirror image on the top and bottom of the wing.
Yeah.
So that way, it fits in as far as styling cues wise, but at the same time, it's better than nothing until they figure out what they want to do for the next year. Because I don't see major changes to the car coming until next year. I feel like they're going to take these races and just learn as much as they can. Yeah, which is the smart thing to do. But if you're trying to save Pocono's race from being an absolute snooze fest, I would do so. I would add something to the size of the rear wing because it's not going to be pretty. Now, this could be a hot take, and I could look like an absolute loser come August. But the way it looks right now, Pocono is probably going to be the one dud of the season. I don't see Texas being too bad. I don't think it's going to be nearly the pack race it was last year or the year before.
Yeah, I don't think pack race will even happen, period.
Oh, it will. It will. I think it will.
I don't know.
Texas, here's the one thing about Texas that Indy and Pocono are not, and it is multi-groove. You can use one side of the track. You can use one side of the track because of the progressive banking. You can run 2-3 wide and make it work.
Even with
the only difficult part of that, yeah, even with because Texas is a 4-lane racetrack, is where like for IndyCar, Texas is a 4-lane racetrack.
Okay.
Scary.
Well, for IndyCar, for Texas 4-lane racetrack. But there's progressive banking on one side. And I forget what side it is. I want to say that progressive banking is turns 1 and 2. Yeah. So you can set something up, turn 1 and 2 coming out of the tri-oval, and you can hug the bottom for dear life on the final lap. That'll be interesting. But that turns 1 and 2 will be super interesting. That's where the moves happen. And then you're going to see people try to do something bonsai by moving up the racetrack. If you move up to the high lane like what they did like in 2015. You can make that work in turns 3 and 4 with this setup. Clean air. That is so important. Texas is going to be a pack race for a completely different reason. It's not going to be as tight. You're not going to see so many people fighting for one piece of real estate. You're going to see people running different lanes, especially in the corners, and that is important.
Okay.
That's my prediction of it. It's not going to ruin the racing. It's just going to dramatically be different because Texas is wide enough for that. Indianapolis is not. Pocono is not.
Well, only the front
Pocono's.
Then.
Well, that's the thing. Pocono is wide enough, but there's no progressive banking, so you've only got one lane in the corners.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, it's a one-lane racetrack unless you're on a restart, in which case it's 7 lanes.
Like I said, just on the front stretch.
So Texas could be fine. Obviously, we're not going to know until we get there. Texas could be fine. It'll be different. It'll be 2015 levels where it'll be close, but it'll be everyone looking for clean air.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be looking for clean air. But there's going to be jockeying for position because that outside lane is going to need rubbered in. How are you going to rubber it in? By driving on it.
Yeah.
So the inside lane is going to prevail at Texas early on, and the outside lane will come too. And then at the end of the race, it'll be really important to have that clean air. Outside lane tends to be where you get the runs. So it'll be interesting seeing near the end of the race where everyone's at. The beginning of the race, everyone's going to be setting up. Texas will be similar to Indianapolis as far as setting up the finish.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be calm at first. Everyone's kind of figuring out, okay, what have I got? Where do I need to go? Where do I need to run? Should I start working on that outside lane? And then once you get to lap 200, because 248 laps, let's remember this. It's not 300 miles. It's 600 kilometers. Once you get to lap 200, those final 48 laps will probably be the most mental laps all season. And that's okay. I'm okay with 48 mental laps instead of 248 mental laps where only 6 people finish.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
So that's my prediction is that it's going to be small. It's going to start off slow, and then once you get close to the end of the race, it's just going to be an all-out drive. Now, I could be wrong, and it could be mental from the start, and we could have the exact same thing we had last year. Some people will love that. I personally think that is a bad game to play.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, we're in a server where some people are absolutely stupid, so we're going to have those people. I personally think that it'll be start off slow and build a race. Pocono, I think, is going to be the worst race of the season because you're not going to have 33 cars. You're not going to have people like Davison and Daly being slow and holding up the field.
And making life difficult.
It's going to be a lot more straightforward. And it's not going to be pretty. People are going to realize exactly how bad it could have been in Indianapolis when we get to Pocono, unless they change something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it happening. I don't see changes happening. Indy hasn't, under the Mark Miles era, Indianapolis hasn't been a knee-jerk place.
Yeah, it looks like we'll look at it through this year and then change it for next place.
Which is good because
it's good, but
at the same time, it's just I feel so bad for Pocono because it's been fed to the Lions, and
yeah, and that's the one place I do feel IndyCar needs to keep it on the calendar somehow to make Indy the only.
Well, they're on the calendar until 2020, so they can throw away this year. They can throw away this year and be fine, but it doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't.
But they've had Pocono since 2013, 2012, 2013, whatever. It's been a good 7-year run, which is pretty decent by Pocono standards with IndyCar. So
yeah, old man Mattioli, Doc Mattioli, who passed away a few years ago, was not the friendliest guy to IndyCar, historically speaking.
Yeah. So I think
the fact
Pocono is
his
built.
son's even the fact his son's just not to cut in, but just to say the fact is run there shows how different it is and how much IndyCar has kind of improved a little in the eyes of people.
But yeah, it'll be Pocono's. It's going to be interesting to watch just to see how good or bad it is, because I could either be spot on or I could be dead wrong.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping I'm dead wrong, but God.
Yeah, all the signs are there. They're pointing to
Yeah,
this.
it is.
You don't
Now, if
want to see
IndyCar
it,
says, if IndyCar says, you know what, you can adjust the wing between where it is now and 10 degrees. If they say that after Texas and say, you know what, there you go, have at it, things could be completely different.
Oh yeah.
But how likely are they going to do that?
That's the question.
And I think Gateway's going to be fine. I think Iowa's going to be a thriller. Iowa has potential to be the best race of the season. Texas could be crazy. Texas is Schrodinger. It's like Schrodinger's race. It's good and bad at the same time.
Yeah,
We'll have to tune in and see. The road courses obviously are fine. This new Aero kit, the more that you watch it, the more you're kind of like, okay, it'll be okay. Sonoma will still suck, but Portland will be okay. Portland may be okay.
In general, I'll be okay.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't call. Sonoma is still going to be bad, no matter what. Portland. Yeah. I'm skeptical of Portland. It's going to sell, obviously, but I'm skeptical of Portland because you're bringing a high downforce kit to a track that's mostly straightaway. And
good point.
Like, we saw Indianapolis. We saw the Indianapolis Grand Prix. And it was better than what it had been, but it still wasn't anything to write home about.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Portland's going to be the same way. Especially down the turn one. The complex, the Portland turn 1 and 2 complex, and the Indianapolis Grand Prix turn 1 complex are really similar.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
And the final corner is similar. That run onto the main straightaway is super similar.
Oh, yeah.
Portland is a very similar configuration to Indianapolis, except for Portland's going to be faster. Portland doesn't have as many slowdown zones.
No.
So it's going to be really difficult. That's where my skepticism comes from. I'm hoping Portland's going to be good because turn 1 is going to be crazy. The final turn is going to be crazy because everyone's going to be fighting for grip. Or everyone's going to have too much grip because of the repave.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, yeah.
But everyone's going to have mostly the same thing. And again, with Indy, it's like I see a lot of Indy happening at Portland, and it's not bad. Indianapolis Grand Prix wasn't a bad race this year, but for everyone that has their hopes really held high on Portland, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment. And you need to curb your enthusiasm. This is the first year for Portland since 2006. Well, 2007 with Champ Car.
Yeah. So.
And these cars, although these cars are similar, there's a lot of differences. There's big differences aerodynamically. And that speaks key. And the Champ Car races, the later Champ Car races, weren't stellar either. You have to look to the early 2000s and the late 90s for a stellar Portland race.
Yeah, and those were generally because of weather.
Yeah, it was because of weather. And we don't want weather in IndyCar right now. We really don't.
No. God, no. Ooh.
And the sad part is because of it being Portland, weather's almost a guarantee. So it's either going to be really bad or it's going to be really great or it's going to be disastrous. And
or it could be another Schrodinger's race where it's same time. We just don't know.
I don't feel with Texas, it's one of those things where it's going to be a race of two. It's going to be a race of two halves.
Yeah.
Portland's not going to be that way. Portland, it's going to be once you get through the first 5 laps, what you've got is it. And without weather, it's not. I feel like without weather, it's not going to be as good as people think it's going to be. But with weather, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
So it's pick your poison. I don't. Sonoma's a write-off. Why we're still going to Sonoma is beyond me. I know it sells well. I know it sells well for a road course, despite the fact that it looks empty as all sin.
Yeah.
But it's so boring to watch on TV. It's so boring. And NBC tries. You know they try.
Yeah. The problem is, where do you go from Sonoma, though? Laguna's race.
Fontana.
They want October around the first week. They don't want to do September. Well, the promoter says he doesn't want to budge.
Well, okay. Fine then. Michigan, where you at, fam? Watkins Glen, you want the finale?
Oh man.
I know Michigan doesn't care. Watkins Glen, they wanted a date further away from their NASCAR race. Finale would work because that'd be 6 weeks instead of being under a month. It'd be 6 weeks should be a big difference. So possibly Watkins Glen could be an idea. I would probably, depending on how Gateway does, if you don't want Sonoma, I would possibly move Gateway there.
Yeah,
because that's a crowd that
drums since the race ended. Yeah,
move that race further away from Iowa, because I feel like that race hurts Iowa a bit. Move that race further away, and give it. It's already a Saturday night race, so that's no big deal. And give it a finale. If they do not renew with Sonoma, and I don't know when their contract year comes up, but I'm hoping IndyCar says nope, we are out of here, goodbye. Because Gateway, if Gateway keeps up what it did last year, then nothing is better looking than an IndyCar race with the crowd,
with fans
packed.
In the crowd, yeah, with actual crowds. Yes, it is truly amazing.
You see that with most of the road courses outside of Indianapolis, but Indianapolis still sells about 50,000 tickets. It just, when it's 400,000 capacity, it looks bad, but it's not. Yeah. It sells well. They're making boatloads of money off that race, especially because the tickets for the Indianapolis Grand Prix are cheap. They're probably the cheapest tickets. They're probably the cheapest tickets on the calendar. Like if you're in the Indianapolis area, you need to go to that race because it's a cheap, and because you've got Formula 4 and you've got the road to Indy, so you've got Formula 2000, you've got the Pro Mazdas, you've got Indy Lights, I think they've got Pro World Challenge for that round as well. If they don't, then forgive me for missing that up. But
no, they're not. No, they don't. Just the road to Indy stuff.
Well, they need to. Make that entire weekend should be packed because that is a steal money wise, and the road to Indy races were fantastic. The Pro Mazda race was crazy, and the Formula 2000 event was just chaos. I loved it. Indianapolis Grand Prix, obviously big money seller. That's not going anywhere. 500. Duh. Pocono's not going anywhere until 2020 at least. Iowa's not going anywhere. I think Iowa's in one of those positions where it's just as important as Indianapolis at this point to IndyCar. Yeah. It's been there since the start. Phoenix, the jury's still out on that. Mm-hmm. St. Pete's important, and with a race like this year, why would you leave? Barber's a mainstay. Long Beach is not going anywhere. The city has more of a say than IndyCar on that one, and they said stay with IndyCar. So, Mid Ohio's not going anywhere. Toronto's not going anywhere. Belle Isle's not going anywhere. While Chevrolet's around anyway.
Yep.
Portland's in a make or break situation. I know they've got like a 2 or 3 year deal. If this first race is a dud, then it could be a pretty short stay. Gateway looks like it's coming in with all momentum. Texas isn't going anywhere. It never has. Nope. Even if you want to mix up the calendar, you're limited as to what's leaving because there's very few things that are leaving. Phoenix, maybe. Okay, if Phoenix goes, what can you add? You're not going to add Fontana because the NASCAR race, which is why they're not getting in October, which is why they don't want the Labor Day date, is because of NASCAR. Yeah. So you can't do Fontana. You're not doing Vegas. If you do, you're brave.
No, we'll never go back to Vegas in a million years.
I don't.
It's regardless of what you feel about the. I think there is too much.
I don't. Yeah, I was going to say there's too much. There's too much
from the track and of Randy Bernard's tenure as IndyCar president that they will never look at that race again.
So Las Vegas is out, almost guaranteed. I mean, even if the cars are better now, it's just a black eye, and there's going to be a lot of people jumping down IndyCar's throat on it. You're not going to move Sonoma forward. Laguna Seca, maybe. Laguna Seca is a fat maybe because they're getting a new influx of cash. That is a maybe. This is the closest Laguna Seca has been to an IndyCar race in years. Because they've got that new influx of sponsorship money and they're getting renovations.
I don't think the racing will be better, though. I think we'll get the same
it won't.
Sonoma race.
Oh, it won't. It won't. It'll be horrible. But people have been wanting Laguna Seca for over a decade. And I feel like IndyCar is going to go there. They're going to have a 2-year deal with Laguna Seca, and they're going to show why it's not on the calendar. And then they'll scamper off, and they'll probably go back to Phoenix. If that happens. But if Phoenix leaves, and I don't see Phoenix leaving because this works for them.
Yeah.
Because they have NASCAR, in late February? And then they have to wait until April for IndyCar, so that's 2 months. Well, a month and a half. And their expectations of the IndyCar race is low. They're only expecting 20,000, and they're meeting it. So, I don't see why Phoenix would leave. But if Phoenix does leave, then where else would you go? Maybe Homestead?
Homestead can barely fill out the NASCAR. That's the season finale for them. I don't see IndyCar being a thing there.
I think if Mark Miles has been doing good with working out the whole hosting fee with IndyCar races, whereas Bernard and his predecessors did not.
No.
I think Homestead is a possibility. It's a long shot. I would be more inclined to see a road course race take its place, which I don't want to see because we've got enough. And I can't think of road courses that we haven't already been to add to the calendar.
Yeah,
we had Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
We had Watkins Glen, and they gave up their date because it's too close to the NASCAR event. Yeah. We have Portland now. We have Sonoma, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Laguna Seca is not going to be any better because it's Laguna Seca and it's narrow. It's better for motorcycles.
Way better for motorcycles. But
you're not going to create another. I hope they don't create another street circuit.
It would be San Francisco.
It's anything further north that early in the year, you'd risk having a whole bunch of weather like snow.
Yeah.
So you want to keep it on the southern part of the United States. Do you move Mexico there? Maybe. Is that why the Mexico City race is kind of on hold? I mean, obviously there's more to that. But if Phoenix doesn't come back, that is a nice little facet to it, because you could easily go to Mexico City at that time, and there's a gap for it.
Yeah.
It's possible that could go there, or they could move it a week earlier because there was 3 weeks between St. Pete and Phoenix. Make it 2 weeks between St. Pete and Mexico City, and then give 2 weeks for everyone to get back for Long Beach.
Yeah.
And then you have Long Beach and Barbara back to back because logistically that makes sense, I guess.
And they don't have to change the cars over either.
No, well, they wouldn't have to. They wouldn't have to anyway, because the first 5 races would be road courses.
That's true.
That's why I don't want to see Mexico City's road course that early, is because there needs to be an oval before Indianapolis.
Yeah,
there needs to be an oval.
It has to. Yeah.
That's why, and the only thing I think of is Homestead. You don't want to do Atlanta. You definitely don't want to do Atlanta. You don't want to do Charlotte unless you go to Richmond.
Well, yeah, Richmond's a possibility, but Charlotte's promoters already said that they're never going to have open cars there because of the fatality there 20 years ago.
Well,
because of the tire.
Well, one, it's the Vegas scenario, and two, they just repaved.
Yeah.
So IndyCar will be going faster there now than what they were then.
Yeah.
No, that's not a safe place to go.
Mm-mm.
So Richmond, maybe it's three quarters of a mile, and they've got experience there, and this package fits. This package fits short ovals. Memphis, Nashville, maybe. Both of them are kind of up in the air in limbo as far as financial status. I haven't followed them, so I don't know. But both of them have experience with IndyCar. And it's in Tennessee, which they don't have a race in. And it's far enough away from Indianapolis to where it won't be a deal.
And you've got Newgarden, too, who is from Tennessee.
Newgarden in Nashville. Yeah. So Newgarden, and if Newgarden's face of IndyCar, then Nashville could sell.
Maybe.
It could. It'll do better than Phoenix.
Possible. Yeah.
It'll do better, and because Nashville doesn't have as big of a capacity, it'll look better. That's
the thing, really. Phoenix always looked sold out back in the day. Like I said this last time, but Phoenix always looked sold out back in the day because they seated like 25,000 people.
And now they see 50,000, and now they're reducing the seating capacity like 47,000. I think Nashville's capacity is 30,000. Yeah. If you just have Phoenix's attendance, that place is going to look good.
It's going to look good, yeah.
So Nashville's not out of the radar, and because it's not a speedway, it's not going to be super quick. It's going to be like Gateway, only.
Nashville's the one that's. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nashville's that's all concrete, isn't it? And it's 1.25 miles.
I believe so. Let me look at that real quick. It's Nashville Super Speedway. It's Nashville Super Speedway. It's in the fairgrounds too. I don't think it's all concrete. Oh, actually, it is. It is. I was wrong. It is concrete.
That is the course I'm thinking of. Yeah, that could work race-wise.
It's closed.
Oh dear. Well,
there went that. And I was wrong. I was wrong about the capacity. The permanent capacity is 50,000 for Nashville. Yeah. So it would be similar.
It's a sales and logistics and distribution park. It is left operating, and it will be left standing, but it won't be operating their future as a motorsport venue. So, okay, Nashville's out. I'm thinking, what, Kentucky?
Don't give me a wet dream here. I want Kentucky so bad because Kentucky has been reconfigured too.
Yeah.
Only turns 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Is the one with progressive banking now. So that would set up amazing finishes. I am praying. I'm just afraid that it's going to be too close to the 500 for that to work.
They said the same about Gateway.
Although I will say this. Kentucky, it wouldn't interfere with any NASCAR events at Kentucky. It would be open.
No.
I would hope and dream that Kentucky would take that spot. I don't see it, but I would hope and dream because that would be. I would go every year. I would pre-order tickets. I would travel. I would stay the entire weekend.
Gotcha.
Oh my God.
So you want to talk about the cars?
That is my
future issues with drivers?
I'm trying to look. I want to see what Memphis is doing right now because that's the only other idea I've got.
Memphis Motorsports Park, you mean, right?
Yeah. Memphis Speedway, Memphis Motorsports.
Memphis International Raceway is what it's called now. My bad. Let's see. They are still open. Built in 1998.
So it's somewhat new, and it's different from Gateway too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's banked. I think
It is.
it is banked. 11 degrees.
Yep. And it's about the size of Iowa. Or no, sorry, my bad. It's
Richmond.
regular D-shaped. It's Richmond. Yeah, 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, Iowa's just a tenth larger. Memphis.
It hasn't hosted anything. I mean, the only thing they've hosted lately is Canada for NASCAR. And I think the issue there would be the fact that there's no real permanent pit and garage area. It'd be like going up to Canada to run in that one ratty little oval that Rick Mears had his accident, his legs on. St. Air. It looks like it's me from the videos I'm looking at.
Yeah, they've been hosting IHRA, ADRL, and K&N Pro East. So
yep.
I don't know. It's interesting. It seems unlikely now that I know that it's most of its stuff's temporary. Yep. Yeah, there's not a lot of options. If Phoenix goes away, there's not a lot of options you can choose from.
No. Ovals generally
which is depressing
lately. Yeah, ovals that aren't part of the NASCAR family, or the Smiths, or through Bruton Smith, have been closing down a lot lately, rather than new ones opening.
Which is interesting because then you have to look at all the NASCAR circuits and try to pick one. They're not going to go to Dover or Bristol or Martinsville or Darlington.
No.
Charlotte's a no. Las Vegas is a no.
Atlanta's a no.
Texas is already there. Atlanta's a no unless Atlanta gets repaved.
Yeah, they've been talking about it.
Chicagoland is one. But it's too far north for April, so I don't see that working.
For April, no, it's not going to work.
Trying to think. There's nothing else in Alabama that they can use.
Nope.
There's nothing else in Georgia they can use.
Yeah, why else would you run another race in Alabama when you've got Barber? Anyway, so.
Yeah, that would. Mississippi's got nothing. Florida's got Homestead, but that's a long shot. Sebring is one that's possible.
No.
But that's a road course, and we don't want road courses.
Course A, it's a long course B.
It's got three variations.
It's got 3 variations, but even the one with the main pits and grandstands, teams have already said it's too rough and too bumpy to run their cars over. That's why they do all their testing on the short course, which is the far north part of the track. Sorry.
But yeah, it makes sense. Palm Beach International Raceway is one, but
man,
it's
You want to fight gators in the freaking opposite sides, like New Orleans, that one race.
I was going to say it's a lot like New Orleans.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot like New Orleans.
But I don't know. What do you feel like talking about?
I feel like an oval is necessary, but it's difficult.
I mean, to put it in perspective, there are only 2 ovals that are not part of either ISC or Bruton Smith, and that's Indianapolis and that's Pocono. That's it.
Yeah. And that's
Iowa too, but yeah,
that's depressing.
It is.
But anyway, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see because they'll obviously they'll probably do what they did this year and just wait until after the season ends before confirming races.
Yeah. Get the schedule out right after.
And I guess this is important to talk about because with Scuderia Corsa, because with Indianapolis 500, before they pit, it was Scuderia Corsa, Stephen Wilson for Andretti, and then Meyer Shank Racing top 3. And they were on score to earn millions.
Yes.
So the only difficulty with that is that they're both Honda.
Well, Scuderia Corsa has already stated 50-50. Their owner was interviewed Pruitt on one of the Racer.com YouTube videos. Yeah. And he stated that he was 50-50 about doing IndyCar next year. Next year, full time.
Yeah, I don't see next year happening. I don't see next year happening for him. But you've still got McLaren and Shank.
Yeah, you do. And
But the thing
Corso's
with the thing with Superior Course is that they have no loyalty to Honda or Chevrolet. They can do either or.
They'll just do whatever. They will go where they think they can get a car. That's their thing. And besides, their owner wants to be like a Roger Penske-like figure. He likes like how Penske is able to juggle different, like, groups and different, because he owns several Ferrari dealerships, but he wants to expand into other types. And IndyCar would be a good choice for that. And besides, if they don't go into IndyCar, they can always do IMSA, and they can always do Le Mans, and they can always do, one-make amateur series like the Trofeo Challenges and the Ferrari series, which is, as they said, was their bread and butter.
Yeah. The Superior Course of doing that whole limited entry thing, I think, works best for them.
Yeah.
Because you get to take part in the biggest race in the world, and at the same time, you're not sacrificing anything because you're not owning the car.
Yeah.
And the team that you're working with doesn't lose anything because they get an extra replacement car.
Yeah.
So, Superior Course, I don't think's a big deal. I think they still made a decent amount of cash. People know who they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And Servia did a great job. Shank, this was big.
Yeah.
Because they're the favorites to get that 13th Honda engine.
Yes.
And
stand on their own and be their own team. That's the thing. If they get they are going to be their own team. They're not going to be associated with SPM anymore.
Which would probably be for the better with how Indy went. Jesus.
No. Yeah.
And then that's the thing. Well, with Honda, it seems to be pretty set and clear. It's either going to McLaren, which seems more likely now. Yeah. Because I had a conversation with people, and if Lando Norris wins the Formula 2 title this year, where is he going to go?
Yeah.
And there's currently no one touching him right now. No. If he goes, where does Alonso go? Where does Van Dorn go? Who's on the bubble at McLaren F1? Where's Norris going to go? The answer right now for him is nowhere. But if Alonso wants to come to IndyCar, say he wins Le Mans, say he wins Le Mans, and even if he doesn't win the World Drivers' Championship over there, say he wins Le Mans, he's done what he wants to do over there. Yeah. Now his focus comes back to IndyCar.
Yeah.
Does he want to leave McLaren? Does he want to leave the F1 team and come to IndyCar? This becomes really big.
Yeah.
Like the ante for the last Honda seat is a lot more important than I thought it was last week.
Yeah.
Because Lando Norris is on par to do something stellar. Either he comes to IndyCar or Alonso does.
Yeah.
I don't see Van Dorn going anywhere.
Yeah, and also don't forget that McLaren announced that they to possibly be the head manager of a possible IndyCar team, to at least be an ambassador and an investor. I might have went over this last week, but I think it bears repeating.
I don't think we did. I think we kind of glanced over it because as we started talking about this.
Oh yeah, right.
But yeah, McLaren wants to jump into IndyCar with both feet.
Yep.
And they need to, because they've got a driver program that has somehow started flourishing out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's surprising.
Because you've got Van Dorn, you've got Norris. He's about to win Formula 2. You're not going to take him to Super Formula like what you did with Van Dorn, because you've burnt your bridge with Honda Japan.
Yeah.
Now, HPD operates differently.
Yes.
HPD operates independently. So you could stick with Honda America, but you're not going to stick with Super Formula ever.
No.
Lando Norris has got two positions. You either go straight to WEC. Well, I guess he's got more than two positions, but it's either F1 or not. And if not, where is he going to go? Is he going to go to United Autosports and LMP2? You're not learning anything.
No.
Are you going to go to Formula E? No, McLaren's got no interest in it.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. Outside of the gearbox now.
Yeah.
And even then, that's only the default gearbox if people are being cheap.
Yeah.
So McLaren's got no interest in Formula E. That's not an option. Super Formula is not an option. WEC is not really an option. Not one you want to take unless you want to kill your career on the spot. All you've really got is IndyCar.
Yeah, it's the last.
What you gonna do? So it's either Norris is moving sideways, or Alonso's coming for that Triple Crown. I don't see Van Dorn moving.
Triple Crown, yeah. I don't either.
I think Alonso's going to do what he's doing right now for WEC, only it's going to be slightly different because he can't do Formula One.
No.
I think what he's going to do is he's going to, because it's going to be McLaren. So the McLaren is still going to hold his contract. What could happen is he could move over to McLaren's IndyCar project. They could amend his contract where he's able to fluctuate to a different program. If it's not already in his contract, he can move over, remain a McLaren driver, and say Van Dorn or Norris burn out, he can come back. Sort of like what Button can do. They can bring him back. They can do the same thing with Alonso. Now I don't see Button coming back. Button seems pretty content not being back in F1.
Yeah,
but Alonso seems to
straight up he didn't miss it. But Alonso, yeah, he does seem to prove he can hang up front one more time before he goes off and retires from F1 driving, at least.
I think that's how it will end up going, is that McLaren will still hold his contract, but they'll move him to IndyCar. And then if they need him because Norris is either stupid or Van Dorn falls out of favor or moves to a different team, then they can pull him back. That would make sense to me. In which case, that throws that 13th Honda car open.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who gets it. If you're bringing Alonso in, you're not replacing Sato because Honda Japan will throw a fit.
Yeah, and there's nobody from and nobody in there's nobody. Honda is not interested in finding a replacement for Sato just yet either.
No, they are not. They are okay with Sato. They've put all their eggs in one basket with Sato, and he's won the big races. He's won Long Beach and Indianapolis.
Yeah,
they tout that pretty importantly.
Yes, they do.
You're not replacing Rahal.
No,
you're sure as hell not replacing Rahal. And it seems like Andretti's not the team, which is weird because they're already teamed up with V8 supercars. So that's weird. Now, if it turns out that it is Andretti, then, oh boy, Alonso's now a contender.
Yeah.
That's an instant guarantee. He's a contender. And he's on a team that knows how to win Indy.
Yeah.
It's weird. Either way he goes, in any way he goes, he's on a team that's won the Indianapolis 500 recently.
Yeah. That's one more.
That's an interesting position to be in
than anybody else.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Let's see. Rahal's won as many. Rahal's won as many as, well, Herta back when it was Barracuda.
Yeah.
Panther. No.
Panther never won Indy.
Panther never won. They finished second 3 times in a row.
They finished second several times, but they never won it.
Well, they definitely have more wins than Panther. Let's see, so Barracuda. 2012 was Franchitti.
Ganassi.
Ganassi's only won one this decade.
Yep, and that was it.
KV's only won one.
KV, and then they won last year. Although they're still technically in partnership.
I was going to say they're not out of business.
They're in partnership with Dale Coyne, but it's not the same.
No, yet.
No.
So let's see. So Kanaan won 2013. 2014 was Hunter Ray. 2015 was Montoya. 16 was Rossi, Sato, then Power.
3, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you can go to Rahal, and they seem to know how to make it work. If you're following Graham Rahal, he seems to know what he's doing more often than not.
Yeah.
If you go with Andretti, everyone seems to know what they're doing, except for the extinguisher guy for Veach.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything he's doing.
Oof.
You had one job.
Yeah.
So that 13th entry is wide open. Now, for Chevrolet, it's more interesting because Dre and Reinbold had an impressive performance. Obviously, Karam crashing was nah, but he didn't seriously damage the car.
No.
That's the important thing. That car is reusable. Hildebrand obviously didn't damage the car because he finished 11th.
Yeah.
So that's good. If they're looking for 2 cars, chances are they're probably going to get it. Junkos wants that full-time car, and Kyle Kaiser was doing okay until his engine blew up. So,
yeah.
I mean,
and
they almost have a full-time entry anyway. They're only missing 5 races this year.
And there's question marks about whether or not with them as well.
Wait, whether or not what will?
Just saying that even though they miss it, the team itself are open to somebody coming in saying, yeah, I want this on those 5 or find more, add more onto the program, like what they're doing at Road America with Alfonso Celis.
Yeah. With Junkos, they could easily fill out the full season.
If they
Again,
wanted to, yeah.
Gutierrez.
If they really wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, with Gutierrez or Alfonso Celis if he gets more money.
Yeah.
Or if Kaiser gets more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they could easily pull that in. And see. So Junko seems like they're going to get a full-time entry.
Yes.
That seems almost guaranteed. Either they're ride by their way in, or they're just going to get the sponsorship for one driver. Either way, they're going to get it. Dre and Reinbold's going to get at least one car. They're aiming for 2.
Bad, yeah.
They're aiming for 2, but they want one car.
They want one for sure, yeah. And Hardy Racing want 2 down.
Yeah, Hardy Racing wanted 2 immediately.
It's not priority.
Yeah, they're working with Chavez first.
Yeah, they already stated that because they want to add a second car because it'll help the team, like what Rahal did.
Yeah. So Hardy Racing could go for 1. Dre or Reinbold's probably getting 1. Junkos is most likely getting 1. So that's 3.
And then I guess
that leaves 1 open.
And yeah,
because that would be 12. So you wouldn't have to match it. You wouldn't have to lend it to someone. But if Ganassi wanted a 3rd car again, which I don't think they do.
No, they want to stick with 2 cars. They don't want to do the 4-car juggernaut thing. Their team set up. Now they're not set up to do that anymore.
Yeah, you've got 12 right there, possibly for next year.
Yeah.
So we're looking pretty decent at 24, 25 cars full time.
Yeah.
And we're already looking at 23, 24 this year, depending on Junkos and Shank.
Yeah. Because Shank has
full
time, but if they have to, they have connections with Honda. But I think
they do.
The money they have behind them through Meyer and SiriusXM and AutoNation, if they have to go to Chevy, they just might. Because if McLaren, because remember, Carlin Racing didn't want to be with.
Yeah, but then they realized that Honda was full.
They couldn't. Yeah. So that might be a
Meyer,
case again.
Meyer could.
They could.
Well, we'll look at Penske.
Yeah.
They have their Ford's top team in NASCAR, their Chevrolet's top team in IndyCar, and their Acura's top team in IMSA.
Yeah.
Like, you're not guaranteed that you're going to have to work with them. No. And if Shank really wants that full-time car, and he does, the entire team does, if you want that car, it's going to have to be. Because if McLaren gets us involved, if McLaren gets that 13th seat that they need, and you're not replacing anyone from Andretti or Rahal, you're not going to. Let's be honest. You're not. Andretti's locked up in contracts, and I don't know the contract status of Rahal and Sato, but they both have massive backing. you're going to need a third car. And especially if you're bringing in Lando Norris or Fernando Alonso, if you replace any of those 6 drivers with Lando Norris, there's going to be an outrage.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you replace almost anyone with Fernando Alonso, there's going to be an outrage. Obviously, if you bring in Fernando Alonso and you're with Andretti, bye Zach Veach, out the door you go.
No, sorry. Marco out the door. You go.
I don't see Marco leaving.
I'll say right now, in my opinion, I would see Marco before I could see Veach leave, because Veach has got some big money behind him. Maybe not big enough for McLaren, but big. Whereas Marco seems to be the one that has like Andretti sponsorship from other series is on it more than anything proprietary.
Yeah, but Michael's going to protect his son.
Yeah, he's going to make him an Indy only guy if that happens. Maybe
no. Marco's not going anywhere. Not until Colton Herta comes up. Colton Herta is the only person I see replacing Marco. You're not gonna replace Marco short term for Fernando Alonso. You're not. If you're going to replace Marco, you're going to replace him long term, and Colton Herta is that guy. Unless it's Colton Herta, it makes no sense to take him out. That's the only way it makes sense. And the sad part is that may be true. If Colton Herta wins Indy Lights, they've got no choice. So Marco may be forced out based on that, but not because of Fernando.
Yeah.
And that's an awkward position because Marco's not done terrible.
No, he hasn't, actually. Not this year.
He's better. He's been better than Hunter Ray.
Yes, he has.
Which is weird but Hunter Ray's got DHL money and DHL pays millions.
Yes.
And he's guaranteed until 2020. So Hunter Ray is not going anywhere for 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's got the accomplishments to go a long way with that.
A championship and an Indy 500 win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Goes a long way.
You got Rossi, and Rossi's their money guy right now. So
oh yeah.
He's not going anywhere. Veach, if they're investing in the future, and if they're investing in the future, Veach is part of that. And then
Veach is locked into a 3-year contract worth $20 million. You're not going to flush that down the toilet and piss off a sponsor.
Yeah.
This is.
And the other thing you're down discussing too is that, remember, Colton does not just drive for Andretti Autosport. He drives in partnership with Steinbrenner, George Michael Steinbrenner IV. And Steinbrenner IV has said time and again that he wants to be a full-time IndyCar owner, either through partnership or on his own. And as far as I know, he hasn't said otherwise. That's another thing you got to think about too, where it might be Andretti goes down to 3 cars, and then we have Herta Steinbrenner Racing, Colton leading the charge or something like that in the future. And then you have McLaren be that 4th Andretti car.
5th Andretti car in this case.
Good point.
Because that first year is going to still be Andretti. They're going to need a shop to run it out of, so it's going to be Andretti's shop. If you're just inheriting Brian Herta's team or Brian Herta's entry, it's going to be with Andretti, and then McLaren will be with Andretti to start out.
Jeez Louise. It's crazy.
So this is interesting because Colton Herta is currently leading the Indy Lights Championship.
Yeah, and if he wins, that's enough money.
He can't race back.
Race. Yeah, no, he can't.
And if Alonso comes in, there's no way you're not giving him a full seat because that's what McLaren wants, and they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So if you're a Honda entry right now, you are sweating bricks.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, because you've got SPM, who were kind of just there. They were good at the beginning of the season, but now Indianapolis has happened, and that's hurt them a lot.
I think there's a lot of other things going on with the team as well, considering that that's another thing we didn't talk about. They fired
with Lena Gate.
I don't think we talked about that. one.
Yeah.
No, we did not.
I don't get why.
Man.
Part of the reason why is because they set the bar extremely high.
Yeah, way too
because
high.
this team wanted to go from midfield to championship contender, and it showed on the road courses that they were doing that. But I think part of that, I think Racer covered this perfectly, is that I think that there was the miscommunication of how difficult oval races are.
Yes.
You go into oval racing, you're just like, well, it's just turning left. No, there's a lot more than that, obviously, because your car failed to qualify. And then there's also the fact that, obviously on the team side, it's like we just had our car fail to qualify for the first time in our team's history.
Yeah.
And it's our face of the team. It's the face of Honda in Canada, and he's not racing.
Yeah.
Why?
And so
that's a big.
Her all for that.
It seemed it was mutual. It seems like it was mutual. It seems like they both left. It seems like they both agreed that this part terms, because there was no bad feelings or anything. It was just they decided that this wasn't going to work. Though it does seem like part of the blame is on her shoulders. It comes off like she was the reason the team didn't get out earlier.
I don't agree
Which would
with that
it would
at all, but
it would make sense.
Man.
It would make sense if it was.
Yeah, but is it?
Because the race engineer usually makes that decision. That's usually the final decision, is the race engineer, because they clear that time, because the race engineer is the one that clears that time and lines them up to go out. And that was Lena Gates' position. That's usually how that works. Now, obviously, it's all hearsay, and they're probably both of them will never comment on why.
Not for a while, no.
But that seems to be part of the reason. So,
yeah.
Either way, where she goes next from here, no idea. Probably back to sports cars, because she's got experience. I personally think that she was overhyped. I'm one of the people that thinks that she was overhyped. She won with Audi Sport in a time where there really wasn't any competition for them. Yeah, there was Toyota, but Toyota was still figuring out things, and Audi had been winning for over a decade. I'm not too impressed by that on its own.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like she was overhyped. Now Hinch's road course performances were great. Were stellar. Fantastic.
I'm doing it now.
Like Lena Gate as a road course race engineer, great job. Stellar.
Yeah.
But this isn't a road course series. There is a side of this coin.
And that side of the coin, the team.
If you want to win the championship.
They had to copy setups from Wickens twice this year.
Yeah.
Going into Indy. I think also personally that might well with Hinch feeling the pressure of being the face of Honda Canada, face of the team, getting shown up by his best friend, basically, who got him. The guy who, he got the ride for, who was a friend, is at Doom beating him on the racetrack. I think there might be tension there, or something going on there as well. I won't that's hearsay things, but it could explain some things if it was true.
So far, all things are pointing out to this to be a Rosberg Hamilton all over again.
Maybe.
I don't think so. I think there's obviously a rivalry brewing, but I think you look at Robert Wickens and you're like, okay, well, he's an IndyCar rookie. Yeah, well, he was a factory driver for DTM. He was never a bad driver.
No, that series is way underrated.
I don't understand why people think that, this is a big surprise. It shouldn't be. And I don't think it surprises Hinch.
It shouldn't surprise Hinch because last year they did that little ride swap thing where Hinch tested the DTM and Wickens tested the Indy. And even though it was just, a filming day thing, people kind of turned heads at how fast Wickens was. And then when SPM had the problem with Mikhail Aloshin last year with the Visas and Wickens did that one practice, because he was on the off day, and it was like I was on off weekend in DTM. It was people again were very, very impressed because of how quick he was in the car and how he wasn't like slow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think it's also worth pointing out Wickens already has open wheel experience, so this isn't his first open wheel car.
that's true. He made it to Formula One as a test driver as well, because he was tied to Mercedes. And if it weren't a lack of money, he's one of those guys. Sorry, he's one of those guys like Fies. For a lack of money, he would be in F1 right now.
Yeah, he had the talent, but not the funds.
Yeah, and
he's on Rossi's level.
Yeah.
He's on Rossi's level. Yeah, he's on Rossi's level. Like, there's no disputing that. He's on Rossi's level, par for par. And that shouldn't surprise people. But I guess because IndyCar people don't follow DTM or anything,
no,
it's
generally
just
no.
like, whoa, he's so quick. Well, yeah, he was quick. He won in DTM. He was a championship contender in DTM. He was handpicked by Mercedes to be a factory car, or be a factory driver. So, like, yeah, no, that's not surprising.
Now, him being on the ovals now, he doesn't have any previous oval racing experience, so that may have a point how great his speed is, but on the road courses and stuff, it shouldn't be all that much of a surprise. It's kind of what he's done.
Yeah, one thing we're seeing as how we're recording this on the VRR Discord server.
Yes.
Krim, who competes in B-Spec and A-Spec, he's one of the people that competes in everything VRR does. He made the comment, I think that someone else made the comment. Marshall Pruitt said that there was probably too little rear downforce, and it could be fixed by opening the angles up a little bit, which we were just talking about.
Yep.
Or gurney flaps. So both what we were talking about earlier as potential options could potentially be could actually not be far-fetched.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting little tidbit on that.
One other thing sorry to cut in, Cherokee, but one thing to talk about with Wickens, the one championship he won in the ladder series, Formula Renault 3.5, in the year he won that championship, he beat John-Eric Verne, Alexander Rossi, Danny Ricciardo, Brendan Hartley, Sergio Canamasis, and a couple of other big names. So, and Ollie Webb too has a couple of like whoa names. So
that's a pretty stellar list.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back when Formula 3.5 was fantastic.
Happening, dude. It was happening. Yeah. At 36 car fields. Sorry, but just to go back ahead to gurney flaps and things. Oh yeah.
Wickens shouldn't be surprising anyone. And once we get back to Detroit, he'll be good. He was good at Indianapolis. He got a top 10 out of it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
now that's worth being impressed by because he hasn't been something like that. Granted, there's no place like Indy, but
yeah, but the fact that he turned a struggling car into a car that was top 10.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. He worked he looked over the entire race distance and made it work. That's impressive. Whereas you think about Jay Howard, well, Jay Howard was nowhere to be seen. And Jack Harvey was in contention, but obviously Pure Strategy said, nah, not today. So yeah, Wickens being in the top 10 of what he finished 9th, 10th, after starting 18th.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. So he shouldn't be underrated. He should be this should be part of the full course. Now the fact that he did so well at St. Pete, okay, yeah, wow. That's big. First IndyCar race, okay, yeah, sure. And St. Pete's not easy. But after St. Pete, once you got to Phoenix, which Phoenix obviously is interesting, it's short oval. And he was good. Once you got through Phoenix, you're like, okay, this guy's just good.
Yeah.
Long Beach shouldn't have been surprising, even though I think he had problems at Long Beach. Barber shouldn't have been surprising. because he's used to being in the rain. That's not a big deal for him. Because DTM races in the rain.
Yes.
Indianapolis Grand Prix shouldn't be surprising because it's road courses. And he's showing that he has a knack for oval racing. He's showing that he's learning quickly. So when we go to Texas, he shouldn't look out of place. When we go to Pocono, he should be pretty good. Gateway, he should be good. Iowa, he should be good. He should be good everywhere. Unless something happens, like Long Beach, mechanical fault. Well, that happens. Okay. Well, those happen. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Rossi's going to have it at some point. This is going to be a tight battle. We got Will Power, who's good everywhere. Alexander Rossi, who's good everywhere. Robert Wickens, who's good everywhere. Joseph Newgarden, who's good everywhere. This is an open championship right now.
Yeah.
Like don't underestimate any of the top five. Don't underestimate Will Power. Don't estimate Joseph Newgarden. Don't estimate Simon Pagino. Don't estimate Rossi or
no. And another thing to remember, the driver who's won Indy, at least the last few years, usually
has never won the title.
Has never won the title. Has never been. The only one was Montoya.
The only time that
lost out because he didn't win races.
Yeah, he lost out on tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Oof. Because he won his first kart championship over Dario Franchitti on it.
Yeah.
His only kart championship on a tiebreaker. Which is funny. But
yeah, Will Power also hasn't won a championship since 2012. So
yep.
So Will Power's obviously a big name. He's leading the championship currently. Rossi's second by 2. That's how close it is. After a double points race, that's how close it is.
Yeah.
And we've still got one left.
Yeah.
We've got Sonoma being double points. That throws it in Rossi's favor.
Yeah.
I hate it, but I understand it. I'd rather have a road course and an oval be double points than just have one be double points, because you can kind of like, that's how Dixon got the tie. Montoya won Indy. Dixon won Sonoma.
Yeah, and
the two contenders won the double points.
The double points races, and I should say sorry for using the H word. It's wrong, but I seriously dislike that we've got Sonoma as a double points. I would rather see another race get it too. I would give double points out to a road course, street course, and a small oval. In addition, I would not for all three of those. Just to say that you've got one big race in each of the 4 main disciplines of IndyCar.
Well, that's not how they're categorized. That's kind of how it's categorized, because you've got the oval championship and the road course championship, and the ovals combine all the ovals, and then the road course championship has
road courses. So you've got a double points for one and the other. Okay, that's right. Sorry about that.
That's part of the reason why. And then obviously it helps because if you've got someone that walks out in Indianapolis, you can have someone that gets skill and gets back in Sonoma. I don't like it's the finale.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's the finale. That brings too much of a variable in, and that's not okay. Having a race like Barber or Long Beach would be perfect for that event, for a double points event. Just move it away from the finale, because that makes things a bit weird.
Yeah. And considering that most people consider Long Beach the second biggest race after Indy, that would make sense too. But
I mean,
predictions for Detroit, or what?
Oh, Detroit's going to be difficult. Because outside of Rahal last year, no one's won both.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that happening again this year.
I definitely see Wickens up there, though.
I see Wickens winning one. Yeah. I see this being where Wickens gets his first win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
I see right. This.
Like
I'm willing to say. Excuse me, as I interrupt you. Stumbling over words because I'm trying to think. I see Wiggins winning race 1. I see him taking race 1. I want to say Rossi's going to take race 2. I see it being a Honda weekend.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
Makes sense.
Willpower is going to have momentum. Joseph Newgarden is going to be a threat. Bourdais is naturally going to be a threat. There's 5 drivers naturally that you could pick from, and they could all do well. I just think that this is going to be the place where Wickens finally breaks through. It's going to be chaotic. It's probably the most chaotic road course event.
Yes.
Wickens is probably going to break through. He's going to win one of them, and I think Rossi's going to win the other.
Man.
It's difficult to argue against that. But if there's drivers that you're going to, if there's other drivers you're going to bank on, it's going to be Bourdais because of St. Pete and Long Beach because he was doing well until that penalty.
Yep.
Willpower because of momentum, or Newgarden. Maybe Pagano. Maybe.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that
So
he's going to
realistically, that's about 7 drivers.
6 or 7. There's 6 or 7 drivers that you could throw in the conversation that have a realistic chance.
I love the series. I love the series too much.
Like it's great.
Going into
and the fact that it's growing.
What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's growing, and you have people coming in. Jordan King, who's fantastic. We talked about this last week. He's
another dark horse.
He's a baller, and he's coming back. Yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Renee Bender, he could surprise because Junko's Renee Bender. He's not terrible. He's not stellar, but he's not terrible.
He's just there.
He's not Dracone. So
no, he's not.
He's okay. No, okay. You say no one's as bad as Dracone, and I would agree with you. But we did have Milko Duno.
Yeah.
And we couldn't end up getting Pastor Maldonado.
You know what's funny about Maldonado is that he's
not bad in LMP2.
He's not bad in LMP2, and his last years in F1, most of his accidents were his.
Well,
last year in Formula One, he would get. He never really crashed by his own.
Maldonado's problem is the fact that he overdrives a car. In Formula One, that was a big deal because when he was with Williams and he got that win, when everything was set up right, no one could touch him. Alonso couldn't touch him. Vettel couldn't touch him.
Yeah,
Raikkonen couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
And then the Williams went to garbage, and he tried overdriving it because he knew what he was capable of doing. He had been there. And he drove too hard. And then he went to Lotus. And the 2014 Lotus was garbage. And he overdrove it. And so did Grosjean.
Yep.
Grosjean overdrove it. And Grosjean's overdriving this year because he feels like he can get a podium.
Yep.
I think that's Grosjean's problem is that he's trying so hard because he knows what he has. And he's just messing it up. He's frustrated because he feels there's more on the table. He's undergoing the same problem. But with Maldonado, those last 2 years at Lotus, he seemed to be a lot more calm.
Yeah.
Like the mistakes were fewer, the wrecks were fewer.
Yeah.
He seemed to be more calm. He was more consistent. That was big. And now he's in LMP2. And in LMP2, he was the fastest at Spa.
Yes.
So he's obviously a naturally quick guy. Him and IndyCar wouldn't be bad. It's just him on ovals. If he doesn't control himself, if he doesn't have someone that keeps him on a short leash, he could be a serious problem, and for the wrong reasons.
All the wrong.
That's why I'm not big. That's why I'm not big on Maldonado and IndyCars because you need someone. You need Ganassi. You need Penske. You need someone in his ear telling him what to do. You need an Unser or a Rick Mears, someone that has done more than anyone else on ovals. Yeah. You need someone in his ear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's going to run haywire.
Well, Oriol Servia got interviewed by the last year, part of their third season, and he talked about how when he ran in Indy Lights, he was initially, and then when he moved to Indy Lights, he ended up running the Mears family, Roger Mears, Casey Mears, and he just soaked up all the oval stuff like a sponge and changed him as a driver, and it lasted with him. And I agree that he would need somebody to be really competitive with and be able to keep himself in. As far as other stuff, I don't know. I guess I could make a prediction for Detroit, I guess. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Man.
You can make your choice because it looks like me and RACECAR are both on Wickens and Rossi this weekend.
It's a tough call.
There's 7-8 drivers.
I know. Detroit is a tough call.
Remember, this is the place. This is the place where Munoz won his first race.
That's right.
A lot of people win first races here. Mike Conway won here.
That's right. For no coin. Detroit is a track where, generally speaking, because in IndyCar, one of the few places teams are really crazy in terms of spending money and finding speed is in suspension settings and suspension types and things like that. To the point where Penske, Ganassi, and most of the other teams either have access to 7-post shaker rigs or they know the data from them. Either access to them or own their own. So it's kind of a track where Penske always seems to do well. It's a track where it really shows car setup into play. Because Detroit, it's even with the grinding down, it's still probably the bumpiest track on the calendar. And
because it's in public usage.
It's a public use. It's in a public in which is used all year round, and combine the fact with Michigan with a hard winter and then the instant summer, it creates tough, rough kind of abrasive surface. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be a first race. I have a feeling it's going to be a Penske driver. I don't know off the top of my head who. Maybe Paget and get into victory lane. Maybe. It's weird. I generally don't go car race and immediately think of who could be a contender. I generally formulate those opinions practice session when I get more data to see because the series is so open. But if I had to go out on a limb
I would be willing to say. I mean, I would be willing to say before you make that decision. I would be willing to say that if you call a winner for one race and then you say, the second race too, it'll be a first time winner. I would be really willing to believe you because it could be Wickens, it could be Jordan King.
Yeah, that's another thing. Jordan King is just right there.
It could be Jordan King. Obviously I don't see it being Clayton DeMello. I don't see it being Clayton DeMello. But if the weather is going to be like it has been, and rain becomes an issue, he could look out like Carlos Huerta.
Yeah, and Dale Coyne is really, really smart people that know how to get those strategy calls right place, the right time. They've got the experience.
And I would be willing to say if Clayton DeMello wins. If Clayton DeMello wins a race, this year, and I'm being serious in this. If Clayton DeMello wins a race this year, he's full time in that 19 car next year.
Oh damn!
No doubt. He will. If he wins, he will forcefully remove Fittipaldi from that seat.
Ouch.
That's tough, man. Because
pay safe is on him
already. I know it's the
pay safe is on him.
Pay safe is on him. Yes.
And if he wins and PaySafe knows that what their investment is solid, they are anteing up, and Embratel's not going to match it.
No, they're not. Which is
I'm not going to say that they're going to kick him out this year because Embratel's already paid.
Yeah,
they're guaranteed those 6 races for Fittipaldi.
Right,
but next year,
next year
it's over.
Table. Man,
if Clayton DeMello wins a race this year, I would want to say if he gets a podium.
Yeah, I think we're going to get. I think for the first race in Detroit, we're going to get one of these 2 races in Detroit. We're going to have first time, either a first time ever winner or somebody who hasn't won a race this year. So that could be Dixon. That could be, I think, Paget now. That could be quite a few people.
I don't see Dixon. I'm going to make a hot take. I don't see Dixon winning this year.
Wow. Really?
I don't see it. Indianapolis was his strongest race. Was his strongest race. And he finished 3rd. And he was nowhere to be seen. He couldn't challenge Power. He couldn't challenge Carpenter. He couldn't challenge Kanaan.
Well, historically...
Ganassi's no longer a powerhouse team. They're not.
Whoa. That's big to say. I was going to say that
Ganassi it is.
Pick up around the second half.
I don't think that's the case.
But I don't think that's
you only have one driver. Yeah, you've got one driver that has experience. Ed Jones, he's got to learn, and he's learning. He's learning. It's showing that he's not in. He's not. He was okay with Bourdais. He was great with Bourdais, but he's not gelling correctly with Ganassi, and that's a problem because Dixon needs that. Yeah, and he can't do it, and that's weird because Dixon was one of the favorites. When we saw this Universal Air Kit, we're like, yeah, Dixon's a championship contender. This is his type of car.
We all thought, exactly.
And he's been caught napping.
Yeah.
Like he's out of all the contenders that we said, oh, he's a favorite. He's the worst off.
Yeah.
We never said Hunter Ray's name, but we knew that this would be difficult because he wasn't anything before 2012.
Yeah.
So this performance in Hunter Ray doesn't surprise me. The Rossi performance doesn't surprise me. F1 cars are a lively car. Yes. That doesn't surprise me. DTM's a lively car. Wickens doesn't surprise me. Will Power was good in 2011, was good in 2010. Yeah. He doesn't surprise me. Oh, Newgarden being good surprises me. But yeah, Will Power's in champ car.
Newgarden being good. I mean, his first rookie.
He's not. I don't see him.
2011, but I think it's more of a taste of him having the talent and the racing mind to kind of get a handle on this car more than anything to do with his physical actual preferences.
I don't see Newgarden defending, and I don't see Dixon winning all year. I don't see Ganassi getting a single win. I don't see it happening at an oval. I don't see it happening on a road course. Jeez. Nothing. Ganassi flipped it up in the rain. Their best chance to win, I think, was Barber, and that was obviously team and pass. Ganassi is now officially lower.
Oh, what a timeline!
And the sad part is, statistically speaking, I've been correct for 3.
Yes, you have.
Because Coin without Bourdais, when Bourdais was hurt, they still did better than Ganassi.
Yeah, that's true.
They are lower than Coin. They are lower than SPM. Jeez. They are not the top Honda team. They are not even top 3.
That's
them moving to Honda. Them moving to Honda was a big mistake.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
And the sad part is they can't get out of it.
No, they can't. Not anymore.
Because when Dreyer Reinbold comes in, when Junko comes in, or if Schenk moves over,
they're locked in.
You have no room. And then you're going to have McLaren.
Yeah.
And you're going to have Andretti, who have been stellar. Ganassi have been caught napping. And instead of fixing it, they just went back to sleep.
Well, okay, you know what?
Dixon's. I'm going to go on a limb and say this. I'm going to go a step further and say that Dixon is past the best part of his career. It's all downhill from him from here. He's 37.
God, true.
He's younger than Bourdais.
Mm-hmm.
But he's never had a year as bad as this, where he's had to adapt and struggle to adapt as hard as this. Last time we changed the cars, he had 3 teammates. He had teammates. He's always been with Ganassi. Yeah. He had Kanon. He had Franchitti. Yeah. He had Weldon.
Yeah.
He has none of that now.
Yeah, he's got
There's nothing. You look at Foyt.
Wow.
They've got Kanon and Matthias Laced.
Yeah,
and they're
the old
rocking
guard and the young kid.
Mm-hmm.
And they're rocking it because Kanon knows how to develop. He learns. Yeah. He's hungry. Dixon's a 4-time champion. He's won the Indianapolis 500. And Ed Jones, he doesn't know. No. He's only been here for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's been getting used to a different car each year. Yeah. He's not any help. Ganassi obviously is financially hurting.
Yes.
Dixon, unless he moves to a team, and he's not moving to Penske, that's not happening. That's off the table. Unless he changes teams.
Yeah.
Dixon's career is on a downhill slide.
Wow.
As much as that hurts, and unfortunately,
it does.
It hurts
I'm not
Jones.
Say it doesn't, but...
And unfortunately, I don't think that's who it hurts the most.
No, it hurts Ed Jones.
Ed Jones is screwed.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say that, because he could go anywhere. He could go to Carlin. And I see him moving to Carlin at some point. I see him replacing Kimball at some point. He could move to Carlin.
Well, does he really?
Or he could go to a different team.
Is he really have the
Yeah, he's got the money.
Okay.
He's got the money. Well, here's the thing.
Jeez.
Kimball has never been contested for that seat. There was never any contesting for the Carlin seats. No one contested them.
No, because those seats would exist for the fact that Kimball
but
Hilton had money.
If there's one driver that can contest it, it's the only other driver that has recently been in Carlin.
Yeah.
Which is Jones.
Yeah.
He's the only other driver, and he's got the backing to do it.
Jeez Louise.
So, and Jones is only in that Ganassi seat because of Red Bull.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Because Harley was supposed to be in that seat for 3 years, and Red Bull needed someone, so they brought in Harley, and they had to buy out Ganassi. So they gave Ganassi $5 million to buy him out, and they pulled in Jones for a fraction of what they paid Hartley.
Man.
If it wasn't for Hartley not being, Jones would not have a ride.
Jeez.
Wow.
Let that sink in. Jones was going to be replaced by Pietro Fittipaldi and Clement de Mello, and was an underdog to Esteban Gutierrez. Despite his result, despite the third place finish, was not even close to maintaining that seat.
Goodness.
My God.
He was on a year-to-year deal. Now he's on a 2-year deal with Scott Dixon at the end of his career. On a team that's possibly on its way out the door by the time the new engine rigs come in.
Owie.
Wow.
That's where Ganassi stands. You want a hot take? There it is. By 2021, Ganassi is not an IndyCar team.
Wow.
As soon as Target left, the writing was on the wall.
What does it say?
Now they have to shop for.
What does it say about their NASCAR program, though?
Well,
barely handled two.
I think that's part of the problem.
Sponsorship too.
I think that's part of the problem. Ganassi needs one or the other. They can't do both anymore. Larson makes money.
Right.
McMurray has long-term deals.
Yes.
You have NTT Data, which is big on IndyCar.
Yes.
They're not big on Ganassi. Ganassi's just a recognized name.
Yes.
They can move to SBN next year, and Ganassi is screwed. They are without anything.
Man.
What do you have to show other than 2015? What do you have to show in 2016? 2017? What about 2018? Nothing.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that there's been an Indianapolis 500 since 2000. Well, honestly, I would say 2008. He wasn't a favorite then. There has never been an Indy 500 where Dixon was a favorite. Ever. He was always Frankitti's shadow. He was always Rodden's shadow. He was battling with Kanaan. And Kanaan was used to being in Rodden's shadow. He was in Marco's shadow back when Marco was good.
God.
And you've got this guy as your lead guy. And you've had him as your lead guy since Franchitti retired. You had a good year in 2015 because you were on the Chevrolet side of things.
Then when you switched,
you beat Penske to the punch. You switched. You had to go down to 2 cars. You lost Target. You lost Coca-Cola. You've got NTT Data sponsoring one. You've got PNC Bank, which are in a year-by-year deal.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, that's
where are you at?
Damn.
Where are you at with Ganassi? Like 2021, and this is a hot take. I hope I'm wrong. I'm praying I am proven wrong. I'm praying I am jinxing this, and Ganassi ends up winning championship after championship after championship. But 2021, Ganassi either gives up NASCAR or they give up IndyCar. They are leaving one. And I feel like with Ganassi, they are leaving IndyCar.
Unless, and here's a twist, you know how Kyle Larson has been wanting to run the Indy 500?
Ganassi's not letting him. Ganassi said no repeatedly. Larson, while Larson is a part of Chip Ganassi Racing, he will not be in the Indianapolis 500 ever.
I honestly expect.
I'm not seeing him what choice he has. I mean, who else does Chip have to replace, say, Scott if he goes somewhere else?
That's the thing. Who does he have? He's not. Larson's not going to IndyCar. He's not letting him go.
Nope.
Who if you got? Are you going to promote Ed Jones? Someone who's now been traumatized by 2 bad years on a team that was allegedly really good?
That's another thing. Who's he going to replace?
Like, is Ed Jones going to stay? Is Ed Jones going to stay? Who do you replace? Ganassi has no young driver program.
No.
You're going to have to pick up someone who's in their 30s. Who are you going to pick up? J.R. Hildebrand? For Ganassi? What? Are you going to try to bring Kanan back? No. No, you're not. That's sour. That went sour quick.
I'll say this about J.R. Hildebrand. A lot of people kind of feel that his struggles last year were his own fault. Here's the thing. Else publicized, I'm going to get to that before you maybe. Nobody publicized the fact his racing was a sports car guy who had never done IndyCar.
I'm not even worried about that. Hildebrand's a good guy. Hildebrand's a good driver. He showed that at Long Beach. He showed that in the later half of the season once everyone figured out their positions.
Yeah.
He did well. Iowa, where he tied his best finish ever in his career.
Yeah.
He got 2 podiums in the second half of his career, but went out the door because of Spencer Pickett, who has done jack.
Yeah.
Hildebrand's a good driver.
And Hildebrand also outran Pickett this year at Indy, despite being a lap down most of the and coming on strong at the end.
And being in a slower car.
But
possibly
if Hildebrand goes to Dreyer and Ryan Bolt,
yes,
he is a loyal guy. Mm-hmm. Is he going to leave Dreyer and Ryan Bolt for Ganassi? Survey says no. Is Karam going to go back?
Oh, hell no. Chip hates him.
Okay. Chip doesn't even want him back.
Chip doesn't want him back.
So if Hildebrand's not going to leave Dreyer because he has a loyalty obligation, he didn't want to leave Panther, and he didn't want to leave Ed Carpenter. If Dreyer and Ryan Bolt said, we believe in you, why are you going to give that up? Exactly. Sage isn't going to Ganassi
year after year.
Dixon's got 2 years at best left. Once he reaches 40, I have full confidence that once he reaches 40, he is done.
Yeah.
So you've got Ed Jones, who could go to Carlin. You're not going to bring Kimball back because he was outside of Mid-Ohio 2012. He's been garbage. You're not going to bring Chilton back because Carlin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who is there? Are you going to hope that the free market has 2 journeyman drivers? Are you going to hope that Jordan King's not going to be in a top-tier team? Are you going to hope that Robert Wickens and Hinch actually fall out and you can pick up one or the other? Are they going to leave SPM? Survey says probably not.
Are you going to hope?
If you're Ganassi, you're in the worst position ever because people see you and they see what you've done. Dixon, 4 championships. Franchitti, 4 championships. Those 3 drivers, those 2 drivers alone have 4 Indianapolis 500 wins.
Yep.
If I was Ganassi right now,
you are screwed.
You're screwed, but if Dixon retires within the next 3 years, 40, I would be immediately interested in who was the guy that tested for them a couple years ago?
Felix Rosenquist. Mahindra's got him for years. He's not going anywhere.
Okay. Then Pietro.
They wanted, because the way that they were going to do this, the way it was going to work before Ed Jones, they wanted Rosenquist in that car.
Right.
Rosenquist got hired by Mahindra, who paid top dollar because they're a factory team. So they went to Harley because he left Porsche.
Right, and he got picked up.
Red Bull bought out.
Yeah.
Harley.
Yeah,
and
we went about where you went over.
Yeah, well, before they went with Jones, they tried again with Rosenquist. They had $5 million sitting. Okay, cool. We'll only need you for a year. That was the idea. We'll pay you $5 million a year. And Mahindra's like, no, we paid him more. Okay, shit. Okay,
yeah, Mahindra
so,
is a huge corporation. People do not
especially in
understand
India.
how big it is.
Well, especially in the United States. In the United States, are big for the lawnmowers, but over in India, it's electronics, and they're loaded.
Yeah, they make.
They're not
cars,
going anywhere.
Electronics. They are teaming up with Boeing to make for India's government. They are everything over them, and Formula E is a big deal. They have money to spare. Yeah,
so Felix Rosenquist wasn't leaving Mahindra at all. No. Okay, so you've got $5 million. Who are we going to buy out? Well, we're not able to buy out anyone.
No.
Who are you going to try to get? You're not going to get any of the Formula E drivers, because if Felix Rosenquist is the bottom of the barrel, you're screwed. You're not going to get Bruno Senna because he doesn't want to do ovals.
No way.
You don't want Pastor Maldonado, because even though you have the money. But yeah, he's a volatile prospect.
Yeah.
Who else is there for you to grab? Mike Conway's not doing ovals. And you need someone that does ovals. You desperately need someone that does ovals.
And this is the conundrum when it comes to finding.
And the only other person that did well at Indianapolis was Jones.
Yeah. So you know
the fact that they overlooked Wickens, because they had the jump on. They had the jump on Wickens because Wickens is like, well, I'm no longer working in DTM. And it took SPM a while. SPM didn't work on that immediately.
No,
because they were still going with Alotion.
Yeah.
They were still going with Alotion. And then Alotion was like, well, I'm working with LMP1 now. See ya. Bye. Okay.
Because it's
so it must be nice being able to pick where the freak you go.
Yeah.
Like, well, IndyCar Formula One. Well, IndyCar Le Mans. I want Le Mans. See ya. And SPM was like, okay, fine. We'll start working on Wickens. They didn't initially want Wickens because he didn't have money.
That's right.
Like that was even brought up then in the same broadcast. Like, you usually go with people that bring money. You didn't. What changed? And Sam had to cover his ass because, we were kind of left without lube.
Yeah.
So yeah, who are you going to pick up? God. Wickens, because you've got Wickens. Yeah, he was good in front of the Renault 3.5. What, 2006, 2007, 2008, maybe? 2007, because Alotion won 2008.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. We want to talk about Formula Renault 3.5 being the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Alotion winning 2008. Why did that get swept under the rug?
It didn't, actually.
It did in my circles. No one talked about it over here. Like, it was like one of those things where like no one talked about Formula Renault until, hey, Robert Wickens, he's awesome.
Where'd he come from?
Right. Formula Renault, yay. Rossi, Formula Renault, yeah, where he lost to Wickens. How about Alotion? Yeah, who Rossi lost to the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alotion lost to Wickens, but then Rossi lost to Alotion.
Yeah, so how does that work? It's wild.
It probably didn't help that GP2 was also a big.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's a big thing as well. But okay, back on topic. Who am I going to pick for Detroit? I'm going to say a first-time winner. I know. I love going off on the. Okay, I think for the
this will be a long podcast.
It is. So I'm just going to be, in the interest of time, I'm just going to say we're going to get somebody who hasn't won a race this year already. I'm going to go to bat and combat all that last little bit of negative hot takes and stuff. I'm going to say Scott Dixon's going to win at least one race. Race 1 or race 2. Just because Detroit is a place where you can say...
Okay, you know what? I've got a forfeit. I've got a forfeit I'll take part of. If Scott Dixon wins... If Scott Dixon wins in IndyCar this year, under any circumstance, doesn't matter. If he wins a race this year, I have got a bag, a large bag of Pocky ghost pepper chips. I will eat all of them in a podcast.
I have nothing to compare that with, though.
You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm the one that made this hot take. If I get proven wrong, that is my forfeit, and I will post a picture in the Unplugged channel to let you know that I am dead serious. I've got a large ass bag of Pocky ghost pepper chips that I will down in a podcast.
Oh, God.
If Scott Dixon wins at all this year.
Okay.
And I will put that in the description to where people remind me, you've lost. I will take that failure. Because I want to be proven wrong. I need to be proven wrong. For Ganassi to have any hope, I need to be proven wrong this year.
Okay.
And if I do not get proven wrong, I need to be proven wrong. So if Scott Dixon wins, I'm taking the Pocky Ghost Pepper Chips. You've got a new first-time winner, and you've also got Scott Dixon, who's also would be a first-time winner.
For the season, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking somebody win first time. I'm going to say Scott Dixon, race number 1, just because race number 1 of Detroit usually brings up the oddball result. Race number 2, I'm going to say somebody from Team Penske. I'm going to say Pageant.
You know how bad it has to be when you say that race 1 brings out the oddball result and you list Scott Dixon?
I know. This is the timeline we live in. This is how IndyCar it is constantly changing and shifting. I love it. I enjoy it.
I love it too.
It's the reality of it, but
it's fun making hot takes because it's fun making hot takes because at some point I'll be right and at some point I'll be dead wrong. And I'm hoping I'm not wrong this year because I realize now I regret making that decision because I've never finished a bag of those chips before. God damn it.
Well, I mean, Indy went wrong for you in a heartbeat.
Oh my God! For a while, though, man.
I was sitting pretty. Oh, watch me be like, oh, Scott Dixon starting last in Sonoma. This is it, and he just charges forward and wins it. I'm gonna cry. I'm legit gonna cry. And only there won't be a bowl of onions. It'll be a bag of hot chips with not enough milk in the world.
Well, there is a pizza place that I go to that serves what they call the fireman's special. It's like a pepperoni with hot oil and flakes and flakes of like chili flakes and such. And it's probably not as bad as the chips. If I get proven wrong and Dixon doesn't win a race, I'll post pictures of that pipizza and I'll eat it.
Yeah, that sounds like a deal. We've got a forfeit. And look at RACECAR. Look at RACECAR being the only smart person of the three of us right now.
I'm basically just going to be the ref in this because
I've got. I immediately know what I've done wrong, and I can't take it back. I've got to man up and do this. If Scott Dixon and watch him win Pocono. And I just had to sit there and watch it for 3 hours. Watch it when I have to watch it for 3 hours. That's gonna suck.
It'll be funnier if he dominated too.
Oh my! Or he'll win Texas by a nose. And on my like the week after my birthday, I'm gonna have to burn my tongue off. Yeah. There's so many ways for this to go wrong now, and I am so screwed. On that bombshell, it's been almost 3 hours in this podcast.
Whoa, we need to stop.
Weasel RACECAR joined us once again. I've been Clayton Hardy. This is VRR Unplugged. Really unplugged.
Yes.
See you next week.
Yeah.